So, we will share these around probably mostly on who has, who's best positioned to answer them. But if anyone has anything to say, we'll build off of each other's replies as per normal, and I will do my usual sort of moderate in the chat and in terms of taking questions and filtering what I can see, and then obviously reading the questions for you guys. So the first one is from Sibster, which is confirmed and potential uses for KTO to show value after the SEX is up and running besides staking. So if any of you want to take the lead on that one, you can. Otherwise, I'm happy to.
Well, I mean, when we first started all this, like the staking was the most important thing. And we've been talking forever about ways to bring in new ideas to do things after the exchanges. But like, I'd rather at this point just focus on the staking because 20% staking is a big deal.
It's the promised amount as well. And, again, building on what you said, the issue at the moment with utilities and things like that is, of course, they're important, and it's not like the exchange comes out and then we forsake the token or anything like that. It's not about that. It's, we've made no, how do I say, like, we've made it very clear multiple times, like, we are lacking in resources, time, money, all the things you need to make these things work. So we don't want to spread ourselves too thin, trying to achieve way too many things when we need to achieve the core things. We need to get the exchange done because that was promised. We need to offer the 20% because that was promised, and deliver on these initial things, because utilities, they take time and money. You've either got to have the time to build them with the volunteer staff, or you need to have the money to pay someone to do it quickly. Partnerships don't just spring up overnight. It's not just we make a call and then it's suddenly you can buy Big Macs with KTO. I wish that was the case, but unfortunately that's just how it is. But we absolutely, like, KTO will be king on its exchange. It's the exchange it's named for, or rather the exchange is named after it. So it doesn't stop with staking, but that is our focus right now because that is what we have capacity to achieve. But yeah, so I think, do any of you guys have anything else to say on that one?
No, I think that was the whole reason I invested in to begin with, was staking. So that I think focusing on that is the best way for us to be successful and for the token to have value. I don't see any other way that there would be value for the token. So that's the answer.
The other thing, though, if someone comes up with a brilliant idea that's not expensive and is amazing, it's not like we're going to say no. It's literally just like everything we think of is like, and that would cost money, or this would cost, we need to pay a developer to build this, or we'd need to do that, and that's kind of where the roadblocks occur, unfortunately.
Yeah, so I guess just to sort of summarize, I guess not like we're against adding extra utility. It's just, we're remaining focused for the time being, and if something does seem achievable, then of course we'll look at it. But yeah, we're just trying to remain focused at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So the next one is from Valis, which is there still funding needed after beta? I'll kick this one off just quickly, just to say, to be clear, the beta is not the be all end all. This beta, and it's generous to call it a beta. I would almost it is a beta, but it's also like I would almost call it an alpha 2, but the way it's been worded all throughout is beta, so we're not going to confuse anybody. It's a beta, but we're going to have multiple. So this is very much like, this is the first time you'll be seeing more than just like some landing pages. It's still very much brand new. Like, we just had our Tech Alchemy meeting, and they are just now, we're entering Sprint 20. They've been doing the research and development on the trading engine. We're getting the feature and product specifications being sent to us, and that means we're finally getting to see like the meat of the exchange, which is what we've been waiting for, because this information, how everything flows, what these how transactions are going to work on the exchange and in the back end, that's what we need to know, so we can determine things like pricing and what's gas going to be like, how can we plan for things like that, how many wallets are there going to be custodially and things like that. So we're really getting into the meat of it, but the beta isn't going to be, the first beta at least isn't going to be what shows that. So just to clarify, I guess, on maybe some perceptions of this beta. It's not the be all end all. It's like the start of the start of the rest of it. So yeah, but in terms of funding, Mike, do you want to take this one?
Yeah, I mean, there's going to have to be multiple rounds of funding. I think you can't, especially we have no revenue. So until there's revenue, you can't expect large amounts of funding. So it's about getting the initial funding to start, kick off the exchange, and then to show that it's, where the users are growing, the revenues growing. And that's when for example, Coinbase, great example, $600,000 they started with, and then they start to show success, and then they get millions and millions of dollars of investment. And it's kind of the same path for most most startups. You can't get large funding until you show that you're going to be. No one wants to put their money in something that's not going to make money for them. So that's how funding is going to go. It's going to start off slower. I think we came up with a number of $250,000 for our initial amount of money that we needed to start, and after that, we can launch. And, we're going to have to use market makers to fill out orders. We're not going to. It's going to be order book style, but we're not going to have the funds to have to be able to purchase and have all the liquidity owned by ourselves. We need to use liquidity providers, and so it's in short. I'm going to start rambling here, but in short, it's multiple rounds. Yes.
And for different things, I suppose I'm not sure if I don't know if Alice is even here, but oh no, he is. But as well, like if you mean funding for the exchange, again, as far as we're aware, and as far as like all everything shows, like we are up to date. But the thing with development is that if we get presented with a document saying this is how it's going to work, and then we think of something that would be more prudent, like for example, the 2FA functionality didn't originally include a Google Authenticator option, and Jax sort of said, well, that's more secure and also more commonly used. It would be preferable to have an authentication method that isn't just sending a code to your email or your mobile. That had to be worked into the development roadmap, and the only reason we didn't really have to put in a full change request and pay for it was because we were able to shuffle out something that was not as important, like very much just a UI thing, right? So we could fit it in. But the more we try and change, the more we try and add things, that's where the funds arise. So funding will be required after the beta, because just for everything else, as Mike said, we have initial costs. We have things like liquidity. We have things like operating as a true business and paying people and having salaried people. But we obviously, as the exchange grows, and if we want to have a mobile app and things like that, which we've talked about many times, that's going to require more funding, of course. But at the moment, at least to get us to launch, we're good. We've just got to a couple more ancillary costs like 5 blocks and things like that to factor in, but the major cost being Tech Alchemy has been paid for a while. So yeah, the Lord said what was the last dump? I mean,
What's
I
that?
feel like not what was the last dump.
Who said that?
It's like Lord's. I'm so sorry, I'm going to mispronounce this. I don't know if it's Sayed or said, but it's not really for us to answer. But people sell. It was large holders losing faith in selling, or everyone has their reasons. Some people don't want to wait, and that's fine. We know we're a slow moving project. We don't pretend to be otherwise. But to give you an answer, it wasn't the devs dumping bags or anything like that. It was just some large holders decided to sell. We got Bonka, your question. I can't really answer on behalf of JJ, but he's been dedicated since day one, since he joined. He's been absolutely wonderful. You haven't heard from him recently because he's been unwell. It always happens for us. It always, when it rains, it pours. Jax and I were exceptionally busy. Artie is, dealing with a pretty serious personal health issue, and JJ was sick, and he's now traveling at the moment. Sort of, he can't really. I don't think he can have an AMA on a plane. That would probably piss off some people. So, yeah, I'm sure he will provide you a response on that one in terms of how long he plans to stay with us. Again, we have to emphasize, like, everyone, and I mean everyone now, is a volunteer. Nobody's getting paid, so like we're not going to be shoehorning people into roles for you must stay with us for 12 months and you can't go anywhere and you can't do anything because like we're not paying them. So yeah, it is what it is. But he works very hard, and we're very, very happy with him.
Uh,
No, go ahead.
no, I was just saying, oh yeah, we love JJ.
Absolutely.
The amount of expertise he
Yeah,
has, it's insane.
yeah. I wonder if maybe we can talk to him about sharing like his full-on marketing plan, like he did with us. That's something
Yeah,
that
well,
the
I
community
didn't want to
appreciated
presume and
because
share the internal one. Like it really isn't that much of a secret, but it is also his intellectual property. He prepared it from scratch and for us, so
right.
I wasn't just going to jump it in general chat. He is willing to
No,
make a
no, I
public
think
one,
we
but
should ask him.
yeah, which he said he will. But also bear in mind, guys, like he's having to revamp like all of our strategies, and some of them are more important than sharing. Like, I'm sorry, the team needs information before you guys do in terms of marketing.
Yeah, but also
But
it is a
yeah,
strategy as well. So
yeah,
there are some things that if they're going to be implemented properly, need to be probably not shared too widely. Otherwise you
yeah,
lose the edge. But yeah, I think it was in his plans, if I recall correctly, to have something presentable to the wider community.
yeah. He just got a little bit diverted to some more pressing information that we needed from him and things to prepare. Pardon me. And then, as I've just said, he was unwell, so he'll get there. Please be patient. It's not that he's not. He's not just sitting there doing nothing. None of us are. It's always we want to do these things as soon as we can. Um, but yeah, many of us are juggling multiple responsibilities, so you will get it, I'm sure, or at the very least, the abridged public version. So there's that. Are there any signed legal obligations with him? We have NDAs with everybody who works with us, and we did have sort of in our initial talks. Again, nobody's salaried. No one has a employment contract because we can't enforce that. I'm not gonna. Again, we can't. We're not giving anything to anyone, so it's not feasible. However, it was a big part of all of our onboarding discussions and partly why they took so long setting these expectations. So the only real legal obligations are the signed NDAs. But again, once we're operational and we have actually salaried people, of course, there will be employment contracts with terms per normal.
Yeah, I think a lot of these questions are probably going to sound a bit like a broken record. But yeah, absolutely. Like again, for a lot of these questions, the goal is to eventually have a bunch of people paid and have all these things in place and get to that point. But yeah, right now, as Queenie said, there's no one's on a salary or anything like that, so we can't exactly put people on KPIs and whatever things like that. So
Yeah, which we'll touch on. There's a big chunk
we'll
of
get to
those
that.
kinds of questions coming up. Yeah. This is like 10 questions in one. I didn't realize. When Gantt. Again, I shouldn't have mentioned the Gantt when I did because I thought I was going to be able to share it a lot sooner. So I apologize for stringing everyone along with that. But I thought that the one that Tech Alchemy had provided me with the where they'd brought the trading engine forward, I thought that was sort of the updated one, but they've said to me a couple of times now that they're still, because they were doing research and development on the exactly like the how of what they were going to do and how long it would take. They they're close to finalizing that, I believe, from what we just literally just spoke to them about. But with that will be changes to the Gantt chart, so that's why I don't want to publish it and then just be immediately like, oh, actually all of this is different. But I did share in general chat some of the approximate dates at the moment for the end of each of the milestones and things like that. And I'm always willing to share bits of it. I don't want to publish it because it could change next week or it could be 3 weeks from now. I need to know when Tech Alchemy will be ready, and I don't want to publish an interim one, essentially. Um, Bonka said needs some serious clarity on VC funding plans as it's a make it or break it type of deal. Um, Again, as Mike said earlier, like it's going to be multiple rounds, and we really like it's great that we've had the alpha. We're then proving ourselves further by doing a beta. The more we do, the more we prove ourselves, the more we, it's about consistency. They want to see return. And at the moment, especially, um, at the moment, it's like there are not many VC funders or anyone really who's excited about investing in crypto at the moment. It's not exactly a friendly place to be right now. So the best we can do is just keep being, consistent and positioning ourselves as best as possible to be attractive to them. And the beta is going to be a big part of that because it's material we can show them. It's tangible product that we've done for them because they're not going to care about the token nearly as much as they're going to care about the exchange, and that's perfectly fine. They're institutional investors, they're VC investors. That's their bread and butter. That's what we have to sell to them, and they need to see it for us to be able to sell it to them. So, yeah, the plan is it has to be built along the way. Of course, we have plans. Like we have, as Mike said, we've got early figures and we've got notions of what we need to provide and the kinds of people we can reach out to. But it's just as much as we'd love to get the funding right now, it's not. There is such a thing as getting it too early. As I think, Mike, you can probably expand on this.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely. Essentially, it's going to probably it's going to come in a form of like convertible notes, right? Usually at about 8% over the course of maybe 3 years. And so, once that time is up, they have the ability to convert to shares in the company, or we owe the money, right? So, taking the money too soon with nothing to actually market beyond the token would be a mistake. Um, it's really all about timing, and by marketing the exchange, you're kind of marketing the token kind of simultaneously. It would be a mistake to take money now, even if we were to have an investor who want to invest now, um, just to market the token. I think we have, like I said, JJ has ideas of ways to market the token, and I know it seems like we keep saying that and promising that, but it is true, and it'll come soon, and that's the way to, for us to uh, focus on the token. But I think the VC money is going to be exchange specific for marketing to get that up and running. That's where the money has to go, and we're not there yet. So that's kind of the reason for us not pitching to investors at the moment. Number one, we can't show revenue, and number two, we can't even show as much development as we want to. So we're not behind on planning it. It's just not time yet.
And I think as well, something you've touched on and explained to me as well a few times with the VC investing as well is like part of not wanting to get them in too early as well is like many people will say, sure, you can have the money, but I'm putting my guy on your board. I'm putting my CFO in there. I'm
Oh,
putting
sure.
my such and such in there. And like that's brilliant for us in terms of course, they're going to be way more skilled than us, right? But KTO, and this might get repeated in there is a question I know about what sort of differentiates us. Like we've never lost that sort of notion of what the original devs had, which is like we are always going to be about blending the DeFi with the centralized exchange, right? Like we want it to be have the same like I mean in a more secure fashion, have the same shit tokens as a DEX and have that availability and that like the accessibility. But what you're doing is you're bringing things that no one's brave enough to touch on DEXs because they don't know how DEXs work to a centralized exchange. We want to be friendly to microcaps and things like that, and we want to have maximum revenue sharing, and we want to we don't want to be a greedy corporation that's paying ourselves multi-million-dollar salaries for no reason when it could be going to our holders, right? Like that's what this was all built around. And unfortunately, I think if you were to bring in VC investors during this early stage where some things are still being finalized or still the fine details are being built out, well, they're here to make a bottom line and a pretty margin for their boss. So I don't think they're going to have the same community ideals that we do. So that's another thing as well. We can't be beholden to um, that traditional investing mindset. Um, at least not too early. It's all right once we've already built it and said this is how it works, join or don't. But yeah. Last one is workload for Queenie alone as a community manager is clearly an issue that needs to be solved. Any comments on that? That's partly my own fault. I'm prone to biting off more than I can chew. I was studying full time. I've actually, as of like the other day / today, I've finished my degree. Yay! So I'm got a lot more time. Got a lot more time now. but also it just these last few weeks we had Jax and I had some personal stuff that we had to attend to that we'd kind of been putting off for a while. Stuff that really couldn't wait any longer, like lodging our tax returns and things like that. And
Fun stuff, yeah.
fun stuff, yeah, and finding where we're going to live. But that coupled with my work, like the company I work for was bought recently and had new owners, and as new owners do, they've rechanged everything. And so I'm in a new team and I'm doing all crazy stuff. So it was a number of factors. Yes, workload is a thing for me, but it shouldn't be as bad going forward, which is good. So I appreciate that people care, because you're not the first one to mention it. But I do often get myself in these situations of my own making. Alrighty, so now we've got one of the first of many highest of IQ questions. We've got, so when will marketing be in full force with JJ, Panda, and the rest of the marketing team? We haven't had a chance to announce it yet because it was only really recently announced to us, but Panda has actually made the decision to step down fully. He did take a break for personal reasons, and he's ultimately decided like what's best for him is to stop. And I completely understand, like Panda and Sloth and the others, like they gave it their all through some very difficult times in this project, and they never stopped, like regardless of the feedback they got on marketing, which, let's face it, it was constant. I don't think anyone can say they didn't try and that they didn't give it their all. So we will always be eternally grateful to them, and Panda will always have a place on our team if he chooses to come back. But and he's still within the community, and he's still with us, obviously, but he won't be in that leadership position anymore, or doing any of the marketing. And just, I guess, on that note as well, that's part of why there's been a bit of a slip with marketing, because unfortunately it was like, awesome, we've got JJ, he's coming on, he's got the plans, and then a number of people in marketing stepped down all at the same time, which it is what it is. It happens again. Everyone's a volunteer, so there's no breaches of contracts or anything like that. It's no one's wishing harm upon the project. It's just people have got to do what they've got to do. Sloth is still with us, and he's still on the marketing team, but he's got a number of work and study commitments that are going to eat up his time, so he's not our social media manager anymore. So that's why there's been a bit of a slowdown in posts. So we are working on finding a replacement, someone who can do that. It might be me in the interim now that I'm not studying anymore. So again, these are all things we're working on. So JJ is fully the brains. He's got all the plans, and he's got all the ideas and all of that. We're just having to sort of rebuild our workforce a little bit from the last few weeks. And then I've actually already addressed the next one, which was about when will his marketing plans be made public. As soon as he's able to, as he said. He's only one guy, so he is doing things as quickly as he can.
I just wanted to say, just on that quickly, just like hats off to everyone that's been involved in marketing and promotional activities to date. Everyone's done such a good job, and they've gotten us to where we are at the moment now. So yeah, I just wanted to make a point of saying that.
Yep.
Absolutely. So what will be done differently to ensure marketing results improve? Well, I mean, that will be within his strategy. There's a lot of things. He's come up with a lot of stuff because he's a professional. This is what he does. So it's why am I not hearing any clapping? Yeah. So sorry, IQ. It's kind of all the same question, really, but he's not just sitting on it because he wants to. Like he is working on a number of different things at the moment. So you'll get it as soon as he can give it to you.
I spoke with him the other day and okayed his first moves, which you'll see soon. So it's not far away. His first set of plans. So
the next one is which VCs will be pitched on the exchange, and what specific efforts will be made to convince them to fund us.
VCs come from they'll start with. I mean, Tech Alchemy can help us with that. Our attorney who will draw plans up will help us with that. You pitch to thousands of them at the same time. That's why I use a pitch deck. There's personal ones that I know that I'll have more of a intimate audience, intimate conversations with Fireman Capital Partners. I worked for Paul Fireman for about a decade. He's owner of Reebok and sold it to Adidas years ago. His son Dan now runs it's called Grow Core Investments. They don't typically invest in crypto, but we're personal friends, same age. There's some people that I know personally that I can pitch to and have the time. They'll give me the time, and there's no guarantee they're going to invest, but they can steer us in the right direction. Beyond that, it's just to the masses. That's
Every man and
how
his
I run
dog.
it.
Yeah, I was gonna say I feel like the list of which VCs won't is the one that's easier to provide. And yeah, the answer is not very many won't be pitched to. It's we're not beggars can't be choosers. Crypto again, as I said, crypto's not popular right now. We can hope for a bull run at the start of next year, like some people are predicting, but it's not attractive to anyone right now. So it's not we're not here to be picky. Obviously, we're not going to go pick dodgy people, but yeah, pitch to everybody and specific efforts made to convince them. Well, that's what the pitch deck is for. So that's what JJ has been dedicating a lot of his time and efforts to, is two different types of pitch decks actually. And again, this is kind of where the timing comes in. We need to have proof of work with the beta and things like that. We need to show the progression of our product being the exchange. So it's we're gonna do it like everyone does it, really. I mean, I don't think if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Do a good pitch deck, prove yourself, find people who will invest in you. So, if funded, how will the monies be used to efficiently and effectively grow the exchange? Again, we're going to be a broken record on a couple of these. There are duplicate questions, but as Mike said, a lot of it goes to market making. It's going to be an order book and things like that, but liquidity is a big part of it. We want to pay people. A big focus of that will be, I think initially will be having a support team, a live help desk for the exchange, because a big part of what we've always said is the Al, you're making me conscious of my ums. I'm sorry, it's midnight. Bear with me, okay? uh, I'm thinking. um, fuck. God damn it. You've broken me now. The market
Customer
making
service.
liquidity is important. Sorry, yes, customer service. We want it to be up and running as soon as possible. Paying salaries to people is important, right? You're going to pay what you get, pay for. You get what you pay for, I should say. So salaries, things like that, being able to actually function as a business and operate properly. That's a big focus. That's what the money's for. It's to we've made the product. We need to make it run now, and that's where the money comes from. So,
and then obviously you've
that'll
got
be the big one.
From a technical standpoint, bug fixes, feature improvements, things like that as well. We're already building a list of things that are outside the original scope that we'd like to add on. So even after full launch, there'll be more things. There'll be more things coming. So.
Yep. Will stocks pay dividends, therefore diluting KTO, since staking rewards come from profit sharing? That's a great question. Absolutely too far down the line right now. We're not in a position as a company to be issuing stocks. Again, Mike, you can probably take this one, but there's so much we have to cover with the lawyer that's specific to the exchange before we can even tackle what it would be like to be a issuing stocks and shares. And again, it's one of those it's kind of a bit of a tense subject, I know, about the whole previous shares. And as we have always said, nothing has changed. We're going to honor as many promises as we can. That's always been the goal, because I don't know how many times we have to say it, but we were made these promises as well. We were people who were promised this too. We've stepped up to see it to the end because the old devs couldn't. That's what this is all about. It's never been about where superstar devs were reinventing the wheel and rebuilding KTO and making us incredible. I mean, we'd love to, but we're not. We have no delusions of grandeur. It is we didn't want KTO to go to zero. and
Yeah.
the devs were burnt
It is
out.
disadvantaged.
They couldn't keep it going. They needed people to step up and do it. That's what we're here to do. So that's why our focus is so narrow. It's because we're like, all right, this is what we were promised. This is at least what we have to deliver. If we can get that to succeed, then we can start thinking about being amazing superstars and building more and more.
Yeah, when we came into this, we had one goal, and that was the exchange. And for myself, and I know you guys as well, that's what we're focused on.
And not to say
Yeah,
again that
as
we don't care
far
about the
as my
token.
ability.
Of course we care about the token.
Okay.
It's just that was the only thing promised was the exchange and the shares and the staking percentage. So that's why that's been our like repeated focus.
I mean, the utility for the token has been documented since the light paper. It's to my knowledge, it hasn't changed. Just to point that out.
I like the idea that Mike just took his glasses off to hear his wife better.
Speak up,
Doesn't make
bring a
any
towel.
sense, man.
Yeah.
No.
But sorry, I think Mike, you were going to say something as well.
I was just saying to answer that question, that I honestly couldn't answer that. I would need to consult to have a proper answer. I don't have that knowledge to answer that properly.
Yeah. That's
I
why
don't,
we
I don't
hire
know.
professionals like our legal counsel.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah, that's definitely a much further down the line one. It's an important question and one that we can't just answer on the fly. Pardon me. What competitive advantage will KTO have that will attract users? Is it the lower trading fees, higher staking rewards, or something more? Every time I say I'm going to be thinking about it now. I mean, yeah, as we've said already, absolutely. I mean, it all goes into it. And then also that emphasis on being that blend where we make available tokens that ordinarily wouldn't get listed because as we've said a few times, centralized exchanges, these listing processes, they're vultures. No two ways about it. They like small projects will never be able to afford to list on major exchanges. They have to get lucky and have crazy volume or have a community that will harass the crap out of these exchanges until they list them. So it's few and far between. And make no mistake, these tokens that go crazy, like your Shibs and your Pepes and stuff like that, that doesn't happen by chance. There are people in the background who know people. There are people who know people at exchanges. There are people who know how to get them, in a listing room and get good deals and ensure volume and things like that. These things don't happen by chance. It's very, very, very rare that it actually happens due to true organic luck and growth. So that's why that is a key differentiation. Is we're not here to pad the pockets of the CEO and drive Lamborghinis. I mean, sure, that would be nice, but like, we're not here to take more than we need. We want to.
It's the community's exchange. Our niche is the small project that can't afford a $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 listing fee on some of the bigger exchanges. So that's our niche. Plus as well, everything we have planned with NFTs, integration of NFTs with actual utility, providing actual benefit as well. So.
Yeah. The I should say as well. Yeah, I've always loved, like since day one, I've loved the whole pairing the NFTs with the tokens, because one of the things I hate about crypto projects sometimes is when they will launch an NFT just for the sake of it, and I just go, okay, well, but how does it actually benefit the project? How does it tie in? And that's like I love the NFT staking functionality, because they're maybe DeFi exchanges that do it, like DEXs or other platforms that allow you to do it, but I don't think there are any centralized exchanges that allow you to do it. Correct me if I'm wrong, but also just the freedom to offer these smaller projects who often are the ones that have a token and an NFT and yada yada, being able to offer them package deals. Like if your holders stake this, we'll give them a small boost to, if they stake your NFT, we'll give them a small boost to your token, and so on and so forth. So I think that KTO has and has always had, again, a lot of these are the original devs' ideas and they're still brilliant. KTO has a lot of potential to differentiate itself from others. I don't think it's ever really been we're not here to be the next Binance. It'd be great to have Binance a success, but we'll never be like Binance, and we don't want to be. So, yeah. Will short-term 1 month and 3 month staking rewards be competitive with US Treasuries? Upon considering staking / unstaking transaction fees, it would make it more unattractive, unless I'm misinterpreting how the fees affect yields. Again, this is another very niche question that I wish we could answer off the bat, but this is what I mean by some questions we cannot answer until Tech Alchemy have finished building the actual functionality. Like, we need to know how many transactions are going to happen in the back end, how many things have to move, what functionality. Some of it comes from us, of course. We say how we want things to be staked, we say what we want checkpoints to be and things like that, and we build that model. But until they've developed it with Fireblocks as well, to show how the tokens are going to move around within the exchange, that's where a lot of the niche things like fees and things like that come from. We can't calculate it until we know the true functionality has been confirmed. I can't answer the US Treasury's question either, because I am not US based.
Yeah, that's not my area either, but I think it's safe to say, the fees will be fair for everybody, including the exchange, obviously, because still need to make a profit. But yeah, we're not out to to gouge people. That's the whole point of building this exchange, is to be different. So.
Yep, and I know, Kramer, it's been a bit rough for you because part of being, lack of resources means the poor chief innovation officer has all these ideas and no friends to build them with. So we've had many, many, many long discussions about how staking will work, and we have some really fun ideas. But it's, it's one of those things where you have to weigh up sharing something that may never happen, and then you confuse the community and they go, why didn't this happen? You told us this was going to happen. And wanting to share the ideas we have because we think they're good ideas. So that's why it is great entering the next couple of sprints and onwards, of course, but the next few sprints where we're going to get these feature specifications, it's going to be really good because it'll give us just so much more information and allow us to truly understand how everything will function.
Yeah, a real.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say a real epic example of that was actually this week where I've been mulling over a couple things and I was just sitting on it and I'm like, I got to tell somebody. I got to tell somebody. So I hit Jax up and Jax was at work at the time and I'm like, all right, so I got to tell somebody. So I was like, I'll tell Queenie, you tell it to Jax. And then we were in the call for hours just talking about stuff like that. So yeah, ideas happen when they happen and it's nice to have you guys, to bounce that off of. But yeah, we need an increased team for that. There are plans like our ideas that we would like to put forward. We're just with so much going on, especially with the exchange, it has to take a step back. But I'm kind of excited to see where that idea goes, and when we know more and when it's something we can do, or yeah, we'll bring it up and see what you guys think.
When Queenie stops poking holes in all of Kramer's ideas. He loves to go, I have this idea. Now don't shoot me down yet. And he'll explain it all.
Yeah,
And the first thing I do is
just
I go, yeah, but what if this happens? But what about this? Which is good. It's how we should be. But I feel like poor Kramer, I shoot him down every time.
yeah. Well, what's great is that like I obviously can't think of everything, right? And the way that our team works is like everyone has a specific view on things that you come up with something that was like, oh, I didn't think of that, or Jax does, or Mike does, and we work really well together on it. So it's been great. Yes, I'd love for you to stop poking holes into it, but that's the way it goes.
Kramer's Swiss cheese ideas, courtesy of Queenie. Full of holes. No, that's okay. It's not knocking you. No one can think of everything, and there's plenty of things that I will say, we should do this. I'll think of it while I'm like cooking dinner or something, and Jax just goes, no, you idiot, you can't do that. You got to do this. Can't do that, or like this will happen like that.
I wouldn't say that.
Yes, you would. But yeah, so it is good, and it's great to get everyone's opinions and things like that. And when we feel confident that something has been passed around between all of us enough, that's when and it can actually be done, that's when we pass it on to the community for your thoughts, and that's usually when you get those votes and things like that. So We love having your input. I know some people hate it, but one of my favorite things is when I think I'm right and then the community puts me in a corner and tells me I'm wrong, and I go, I have learned today. I'm embarrassed, but I've learned. So yeah, we will share some of the things we've been thinking about as as they become more relevant. The other one he had on that page was any ideas to expand KTO's utility beyond staking and lower transaction fees. As we said, ideas all the time. Resources to implement them, not so much, and we don't want to dangle them in front of the community and then have them not come to fruition. So we are always accepting ideas. If you think you have a great idea for how KTO can be used and be more valuable to you as a holder on the exchange, because it's going to be you who's using it. I mean, us as well, of course, but we've got to think like developers and like business owners, and like while we are holders and we'll be using the exchange as well, you guys are the ones who are really going to be able to go, oh, I wish my KTO would let me do this, or like I wish that I could do this with mine, or I would buy more KTO if I could do XYZ. So keep the ideas coming, because we never say no. We will always explore them. I think, oh my god, I think that's it. No, it's not it. What would be the process of rotating out current board members for paid professionals once the exchange is active? How much will replacing board members cost the business in terms of money and time? Again, it depends. If we get VC investors who want their people in, that can be easier because usually they're the ones paying them anyway. But the trade-off is that they might be like, we don't want Artie to be COO, or they might be like, we don't want a community manager, it's not needed, yada yada. That they may have terms and conditions. In terms of costs, again, you look at the market rate, you look at what you're asking them to do, you look at the kind of experience you're seeking, you make calculations based on that. It's factored into the VC funding you ask for, or if we are making good revenue at that point, you base it on that as well. Not something we can provide specifics on right now. They're always, unfortunately, evolving. We can only make predictions and assumptions, and you got to be careful with making assumptions because they can land you in hot water. I'm trying to breeze through these. I'm just mindful that we're almost halfway there, and we're still right at the start. What type of partners will join the exchange to facilitate operating activities other than Fireblocks, i.e. liquidity partners, credit card processing companies, etc.? Will taking on partnerships be affordable for the business? Who will be the partners? Currently it's Fireblocks. We were looking at a couple different payment providers, I believe it was. Is that what Unlimit was, Jax?
Yeah,
Unlimit
Unlimit was one we were looking at, but I don't think we're sold on what they're offering. So it's for review at the moment.
Their name was kind of ironic because they're called Unlimit, but then they're like not available in the majority of countries.
Yeah.
They were very limited.
Unfortunate, but
yeah.
Yeah, just like other things I suppose would be like Zendesk, SumSub, and then some sort of payment provider. Off the top of my head.
Yeah. The fortunate thing is we do have Tech Alchemy to guide us on that front, so they kind of tell us as we're approaching needing them. They're like, okay, well, before they even began work on that part of development, they were like, you're going to need custodians if you're not going to do it yourselves, which of course we weren't going to do it ourselves. So they made suggestions. That's where Fireblocks was introduced, etc. Same thing with payment providers. They had a couple of suggestions, such as Unlimit. We explored them, things like that. So they're really, really good at telling us A, ahead of time, and B, like sort of exactly what we need, which is brilliant. Liquidity partners, again, easier to ascertain once we know how much funding we can secure and specifically what we need, because different liquidity providers cater to different sizes of exchanges or investors. So unless anyone else has extra, because again, this is getting a little bit out of my jurisdiction. Sorry, I did realize it also says, will taking on partnerships be affordable for the business? I mean, we have to make them affordable. That's what we do. That's why we've been negotiating with Fireblocks. I think we've knocked them down to at least half of what their original quote was for one, and we're still negotiating with them at the moment for some other stuff. So it's like, yeah, we're going to always try and make it as affordable as possible. And again, securing VC funding is what makes it affordable. So we just keep on building until, and keep proving that we're here to stay. We're not here to fade into the night. What is a reasonable time frame for the official exchange launch and pitch decks to be finished? Pitch decks is a JJ question, though Mike, I think he was making good progress on them, was he not?
Yeah, I mean, so you can create one in a day. It's not really a time. It's more about waiting for things to happen, like the beta to add to it. So it's not a matter of time. You can do them very fast. We have templates. I have successful ones that have
I
been
think JJ
used.
has many of his own that he's created
Yeah,
and
he
used.
does.
Yeah.
There's no. It's not like we need a month to make one. We need the development to happen to add to it. So
Yeah, we need the content.
yeah.
Yeah. The and for the official exchange launch, I think I actually posted this the other day. If I recall, it's basically currently the Gantt chart finishes around August next year. However, the final milestone for KTO is some of the more quality of life things that we basically said, don't worry about this stuff right now, bring the trading engine forward, that's more important. So a lot of things like light and dark mode for the UI and stuff like that, like some people are like, no, that's really important. Well, okay, for one, it's dark mode by default, so that's fine. You're not stuck with light mode. But and things like reports and stuff like that, of course we want them to be available to you for your taxes and all of that, but reports aren't as important as the trading engine. So I guess what we mean to say is we've brought the trading engine forward because we want to have real money trading as soon as we possibly can, because it means more time to test it, more time to have it available. Obviously, it means revenue coming in. It means you guys actually getting to use your KTO for what you bought it for. And so I think it'll be, I guess mid next year is around when the core functionalities are done, but the official full release is August next year, currently on the chart, which can change. It's okay, I don't do taxes. Okay, John. So that's the end of IQ's questions. Fantastic. Let's say we secure VC funding. Everything's about VC funding. How does it guarantee our position as holders? VC may well be interested in investing in a full-blown centralized exchange. However, they're extremely averse when it comes to sharing profits or honoring current holders. Exactly what I was saying earlier. We don't want to bring them in too early and have them warp what we're trying to build. We will be explicit about what they're actually getting into. So they don't get to invest in the exchange without investing in the message of our company and of the
100%.
project. Like that's what KTO is all about.
Yep.
So they've missed they've been asleep during the pitch deck if they still want to invest and they think that they're going to get around sharing with the community. Can there be this one? Yeah. This one's we'll see. Can there be a separate channel where every day a dev types out in 1 or 2 sentences what the plans are, such as talking to Fireblocks for price quote or waiting for a response on Sprint 20 completion from TA, just so there's no room for confusion on what devs do on a daily basis? When will VCs be approached for funding? So on that, if we were to do that, for one, I'm sorry, but no one is going to be able to do it consistently every day. I will make that plain and clear. We all try and do KTO every single day, but there will be days where we can't. And I don't want anyone being targeted because they haven't posted something in 3 days. That doesn't mean they're not working. Some things also take longer. So someone might only have one task to post about for the week, but they're doing it throughout the week. Like JJ, right? He's working on pitch decks all week. That doesn't mean he's not working hard. And if I have 5 tasks I have to complete that week, it's not the same. It would also mean I would stop posting the weekly ones because it's a double up. It's superfluous at that point. If you want to know what the devs are doing every single day, sure. Also, just you can ask, hey, what did you get up to for KTO today or this week, or like what do you like? We're always I don't know about. Sorry, I should say I know everyone has different
I would
availability.
never go day. I would never go day by day. That's just because I think that would force us to, even if we did do it, just write something just to write something. If there's nothing, it's not news. It's not news every day. and you don't do something every day. So I think that would be disingenuous. We'd be posting disingenuous things just to make sure we did our duty of posting. So I'd rather have
Which I
it
think
be
this is
the
why
And
the dev update
as
is a good balance. It means we can tie everything together into one post. So if you want to know what we're doing, that's the best place to look.
and I do get quite a few people who will ask me things that I've put in the dev update. So look, I can't force you to read them, but don't be surprised if I'm like, it's in the dev update when you ask me a question that I've already answered for the week. And as Mike said, it could lead to us feeling pressure to just say something, even if it's not on our cards for today. It would be a lot easier for us to do if all of us were doing KTO all day, every day. But as we've said, like, we have to do this in what spare time we have, and we all work full time. And, Mike, Artie, Kramer, they have children. I was studying at the same time. Jax has to work in town, which I work from home, so I get a little bit of leeway there. Like, we already use all of our free time for KTO, so it's a bit tricky to be like, if I have to have 1 or 2 days in a row where I need to do life stuff in my free time, I cannot do KTO for those days. I don't want anyone being punished for that or being seen badly for that. That's my only concern, because, like, being honest and open with you guys, we do work on this as much as we possibly can, and it is rare that there are multiple days in a row where we aren't doing something, obviously, but that things happen, and I don't want it to become a pissing contest between, Jack's posted something every single day this week and Queenie only posted something once. You know what I mean? It's just, I can just see it leading to too much division, and we're working together. So it's just a bit, yeah, it's a bit much, I think, especially when we already post weekly updates. Okay, look, they're meant to be weekly. Leave me alone. I've been busy. I'll make them weekly as much as I possibly can. And then when will VCs be approached? As we said, when we've got a completed pitch deck with content from the beta and proof of development. M16 Mojo said, funny but kind of serious question. Have we seen the light on NFTs yet, or is KTO still going forward with those? I don't know what he means by have we seen
Might
the light,
be,
as in...
I could be misinterpreting, but I did see an article the other day that was saying something like 95% of NFTs are worth zero.
Except for Pudgy Penguins.
My answer to that is 95% of NFTs don't have utility. They're just pictures.
Yeah,
That's not us.
yeah.
we are going forward with our
We're going
NFTs.
forward with NFTs. Yep.
We didn't spend like 3 days in chats with Nahana and everyone brainstorming NFTs for us to not do anything with them. It's just, they are very much much like everything in this project, the utility is tied directly into the exchange. It needs to be, running and built for us to be able to do a lot of it.
Yeah, not only are we going forward with the NFTs, we're adding more NFTs, just more truly.
Yeah. All right. So we've got like quick mental. Well, wow, those numbers aren't. We've got like 25 questions from Zog, so I will go through them as much as I can. A bunch of them I know we've already answered. So the first one, his first section is being funds. Number 1, did you already calculate the approximate amount of funds required for the launch of the exchange? As Mike said earlier, preliminary cost we calculated was around 250,000. Again, it can and will change. We've done projections as well based on number. I've run projections a few times based on the number of users and what fees we'd be collecting on, assuming this much volume on blue tokens, this much volume on green tokens, what kind of revenue would we be looking at here? How much do we need to achieve to be giving 20% to people? So, like, yeah, we've run calculations on things. Absolutely, we have to. So yeah, the initial is 250,000, but again, until we know a lot of the infrastructure running behind the exchange from Tech Alchemy, as I said, things like the number of checkpoints and how much gas is being spent doing things is actually critical to our operation costs, of course. So we need to know that before we can get really accurate figures. Did we already calculate approximate amount of funds required to run the exchange, including payments for stuff, infra, financial, etc., until it will bring a profit? Yes. So as I said, projections, it all comes into it. You can only do estimates right now, and I know he did say approximate amounts. That's partly where we got the 250 from. And also, we need to know who we're going to be using to do certain things to know how much they're going to cost. So that's how we get the more accurate numbers for that. Did you have something to say? Sorry, Mike.
No, I'm just reading along. Sorry. No.
Oh, okay. How many runs? Oh my God, sorry. How many rounds of fund seed that you intend to do? Am I reading that wrong, or is that no? Okay, sorry, my
I
eyes are
think
getting a
he's
little bit
asking
tired.
how many rounds of funding we need, and the answer
Yes.
is that depends, right? That depends on how well we're doing, how much revenue we're bringing in, and how we want to expand, and how much we get per round, how much we need. If we end up getting a large infusion because we're doing really well, for example, there would be less rounds. If we needed another smaller round to get to a next step, then there would be more. So the amount of rounds, really don't know until we get up and running.
Yeah. I tend to err on the side of being conservative as well. Like, we don't want to borrow more than we have to because, as we said, they always come with strings, and you don't want too many strings attached to a project like ours. So,
Position we're
of
in
course,
is it's like it becomes easier when you prove to be moving in the right direction, and you get better deals, right? It's people are more willing
you're less
to
risky.
invest when they see that you're doing well. So
Yeah. Um. Do you know how many funds are required for you until the exchange is released to current marketing and infrastructure like AWS, EC2, etc.? We do. It's very much on the margin right now. We make no, we don't hide that. Everyone can see the gnosis if they want to. We've got enough to pay Fireblocks. We will need to determine the payment provider because, as we said, Unlimit wasn't really suitable. So there'll be costs there as well. We've paid things out of pocket as well. Mike and Artie have both paid for things. The sorry, I just lost my train of thought. the so we know what we need to pay for. It's the same as what we've been paying for currently. Marketing have their budget, which they didn't have previously, so they get $2,000 until they use it, and then we top it up, kind of thing. It's not like a weekly top up or anything like that. It's more of an ads needed basis. So marketing is one of those things that you can't really avoid paying for. Besides, critical infrastructure like the server domains and things like that. So we have enough, even with low volume, because we were conservative with the funds that we had. We've stopped paying, myself and Jackson and Panda, and I mean, we were really the only paid people on the team at one point. And there's no other payments that are going out, and we're a bit behind on reimbursing for personal things. Like I said, as I said, Mike's paid for some stuff out of pocket, and so is Artie. I think Artie's up to date. I think Mike, we still owe you a little bit, but we're we're not here to take money from the project. We're trying to make it succeed. Like, it serves no purpose us taking money when we don't need to. So the basically the gist of these, because it's all about funds. Like, yes, we're aware of how much things cost and what we need and what we have. Absolutely, if we have to be. The what is the percent of this we already have? As in, I'm not sure if he means like to cover what we need until we launch or to cover the launch. We have like just enough to cover. That's why we need VC funding. That's why we're focusing on the pitch decks. Like, we're not, of course we still get money with the taxes, but with volume low because market's low and we are a slow moving project. It's not, it doesn't build up as quickly, but we have enough to get there for now. Again, I don't have to answer all of these. You guys say anything you need to. I'm just mindful of the time and and how many questions we still have to get through. So I'm not intending to rush everything, but I know some of it's already been covered. So I'm just kind of trying to keep it brief.
Yeah, we've got a lot of questions.
We do. Yeah, where do you intend to find investors? As Mike said, he's got personal connections. I mean, I work in finance in Australia. I have connections as well. I know companies and people I can speak to as well. Again, we're not opposed to reaching out to anybody who might be suitable. There's no reason to limit ourselves on that front. And oh, sorry, you said where do you intend to find investors? So I took that as VC funding because that's what all of the questions have been about. But if you mean investors as in for KTO, that's been a big part of what JJ's doing. So building those personalities who are our target. What does the KTO investor look like? Are they male, age? It's building the demographic targets, marketing 101, and he's brilliant at it. And it was one of the very first things he said and did it's actually the marketing introduction call, and then everyone in marketing started doing marketing work in the intro call, so it went a lot longer than it was meant to be, but everyone was excited, so we were, everyone was brainstorming and coming up with who our demographic is and who our targets are and how to target them, and that's what his strategy is built around. What would be the key points to sell them the product? PS, lack of activity in community and late updates. Seems like community-oriented, open and transparency is less relevant. That one stings, I will say, personally, because I'm in charge of those things you mentioned. And yeah, I'm sorry, but again, I already use, and I'm only saying I here because it's specifically my stuff that you've mentioned. Life gets in the way. I do everything as much as I possibly can, but I can't help it if I've got to choose between what pays my bills and keeps my roof over my head and KTO. I wish I could do everything for KTO. I've taken days off work and chuck sickies because I wanted to work on KTO before. So, I already do prioritize it as much as possible. I know it's not personal, Zog. I'm just saying it stings because it does suck to hear that it's something I've done is making it seem like the community doesn't matter, because that's my job, is to make you guys know you matter. So lack of activity, that's something I want to touch on. We've said this a couple times. If we're not talking in general, that's a good thing. It means that we're busy. If I'm sitting there chatting in general, I'm not doing anything, or I might be listening to something, but it means that I have time to chat shit with you guys. So I know you want updates, and I know you want to have, you miss that one-on-one connection, but we the previous devs were in the sort of fun stage of let's make everyone know about the token, and they were in the talking stages of the tech alchemy in the very early stages. So there were important things to do, and I'm not saying they weren't working, they absolutely were, but it's a different kind of work. We have so many different things that we have to attend to at all times now, and it does, as I said, because we all do it in our free time. It is our free time. It uses it all. So I wish we could just jump in VC and have a chat, but we have to align our time zones just to have our board meetings and meet up with Tech Alchemy as it is. Unfortunately, it's not that simple. I wish it was. It's easy for me, and I know I make it look like I'm the only one who's doing it, but I work from home and I can just jump on. I have multiple monitors. My job is quite ebb and flow during the day, so I do get capacity to talk to you guys, and of course it's my job, so I make it my focus. But for example, with Jax, right, if he has to choose between getting back to Tech Alchemy or coming in and saying, hey guys, how have you been? I'm talking about this today. We have to pick and choose what we do with our time. And I know that we can improve, and I have passed this on because I've had this feedback before. The devs have heard it, and we hear you. We want to improve, and unfortunately, again, sometimes it is just whatever's happening at the time. And with Artie unwell and away for we don't know how long it's going to be, we're all picking up his work as well. So I'm sorry, but it is very, very difficult to to be present in the way that we're being asked to be, because we can be present with you guys and chat shit and get to know you and make you feel like the devs are right here holding your hands and singing kumbaya, or we can work on the project. Unfortunately, if we have an hour, that's what the hour is being spent on, and it might be a shit answer for some people and they might not be okay with that, but it's the truth. It's just facts. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we're we're not trying to make excuses. It's an explanation, which hopefully helps everybody understand. I mean, like Quinny was saying, for me, I live an hour away from where I work, so most days if I need to do things for KTO, Tech Alchemy, I don't get home till 6, 7 p.m. Got to fit dinner and everything else that comes with life into that. So, odds are I'm only going to have an hour or so, if that, to do things. I got to use my time wisely. I'm sure the other guys are similar.
They have children.
Yeah.
We don't
Kids as
even have
well.
children.
Like,
We just have cats.
And I know there's a bunch of times that you guys have seen me try to have a conversation like, oh, I just lost service. So like I'll drive for miles. And I know certain places that have internet and I'll stop there and try to read Discord and see what's going on and reply if I can. But most of the time, especially Monday through Thursdays when I'm at work, I don't have the ability to talk at all. When I do, it's usually on like Fridays or at night. And we put a lot of time into Discord. And I know it doesn't seem like it because it's not all in general chat, but we are definitely here. Between general chat, the stuff that we have, excuse me, all of our other channels, DMs as well. It's like we're on Discord quite a bit every day.
yeah, like I mean, don't get us wrong. Like, well, I mean, at least me personally, I would love to be able to sit here all day and do KTO things. But the reality is that doesn't pay the bills at this point. So it's just we just can't yet.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not a it's not a fun choice not getting to hang out with you guys. And don't forget, again, we were all community members originally. Do you think we don't miss like bantering with you guys and making gifts and being silly? And like we love that aspect of it. It's like what motivates us to be here in the first place. I love reading it. I still read it even if I can't reply. I'm pretty sure everyone does. And I don't think there are many of us who don't at least endeavor to get back to people as soon as we can if you ping us. But if it's just people talking and they're not even talking to us and they're just expecting us to drop in and start a conversation, it's not on the priority list, because it's, to me at least, honoring the community is doing what they've invested in us to do.
Yeah, and that's an important part too. Is it is the community as well. We could use your guys' help on having general chat active. I know Buck just said he could post 1,000 gifts. Like I'll post 1,000 with you if I can. And I know it's like no one wants to see walls of gifts, but I love gifts, so that's just personal. I love it.
Yeah. Um. Sorry, bear with me. What would be the key points to sell? Oh wait, I've already read that one. Sorry. So would the current board members get shares of the company? So at the moment, as you guys would know, so when we had to create KTO again as a company, because the one that Garion and the others had, they like wound down, liquidated, and we've started a new one to take over. Yeah, dissolve. Thank you. That's the word. So the owners of that are the 4 devs in here, being Jax, Mike, Artie, Kramit. They have ownership of the company split equitably between them. The board members, being the executives we brought on, those guys were offered ownership not to the same percentage, because obviously we can't offer them revenue or anything like that right now. We can't offer them a salary. They are actually on a probation for the first, I believe we set it to 3 months. And based on, because some people, especially because it's volunteer, right? People say they think they have time to do X amount of work a week, and then they get into it and they either realize, oh, I've got way more capacity than I thought, or oh my god, I cannot do this, it's too much work. So we give them that breathing room, and we made it clear in all of them that we would definitely offer, ownership, because that's all we can offer at the moment. Upon if they want to actually pursue this long term outside of that probation. So I guess technically, currently, no, but it does have potential, and it's not about shares. We have not touched shares for the current company, to make that clear. It's only, or should I say, not like the issued shares. I don't know the exact correct terminology because it's an American company, but there's the ownership shares and percentages, which is what the 4 have, which is what we've offered the executives should they choose to continue on further. The shares that you were offered from the old company, we have not touched that in terms of the new company, because we need the legal counsel that we only recently appointed to hammer out all the details for us and with us. So again, more of a Mike thing, but
Yeah, there's 10 million shares, and they're split equally amongst the four of us. If that makes any sense, the price per share has not been determined. The value of them has not been determined. It's how you just start a corporation. We started a C corp, and you need to have shares, and that number. And it's more about the percentage than it is the number of shares. So,
yeah.
there's a lot of things that we
So
had to do and have to do to obtain funding. Right? It's we need to have a corporation, a partnership agreement. We need hold board meetings. We need to run like we're a company before we can go after investments. And that's why we're doing these things. That's why we started the board. That's why we contacted the attorney. That's why we getting things done, drawn up. And so we're doing all the things we need to do step by step. And, the
yeah,
previous company that doesn't exist anymore, and we did. So listen, we always want to do the right thing. Like we put our money in the previous shares as well. I think most of them were bought by us, actually. Artie, myself, Jackson. Yeah, I know we all bought them. And our promise was to reimburse community members when the money was there, if the for the dollar amount that because it was really about um, getting listed on Bitmart, right? And so they were donations, and the shares were a gift from the old developers to all of us for donating to get listed on Bitmart, and that's how that started. And we promised to reimburse everyone, and that's what we plan to do. Just as we promised to reimburse Bull for adding the liquidity, the $25,000 he gave to be listed on Bitmart. We've given him 5 back so far, but we still owe him 20. Just trying to
yeah,
do the right thing.
yeah, and that's it. And when the previous company and obligations technically ceased with it, but this is what we mean by like everything we do is built around the community because that's where we came from. It's the only reason KTO is still going is because of the shared stubbornness of so many people in this community to keep holding on and to keep, wanting to make this succeed. And we are exactly the same. And I know it's very easy to get those feelings of us and them, but that mentality has not shifted. I don't think there is a single board meeting or call or conversation we've ever had where we have not mentioned the community's perspective or how it would impact the holders or what will people think if we do it like this or how is that going to affect them. Like, you guys are at the core of every single thing we do, which is why I have to go to every bloody meeting. But no, it's all jokes aside, like, we want to honor as much as we possibly can, but there are things that are within the bounds of what we can afford and things within the bounds of what we can legally do. And I feel like there might be a little bit of perception that we're trying to portray ourselves as like these superstar businessmen and that we're incredible and we can turn everything around and make everything amazing and pull $5 million out of thin air. That is not what it's about. What it is if we're going to take the steps of starting a company like we did, then at the minimum we have to do the bits we can do, like hold board meetings. We've got to do those right, and that's why we are a bit slow and we can't be necessarily as agile as crypto projects who, I'm sorry, half of them don't have companies, and if they do, they're sure as shit not running board meetings and having accurate minutes taken and taking the proper records and things like that. So it's not about being hoity-toity, we're amazing, look at us, we have a business where forget crypto, forget the community, we're just all about the business. It's not that. It's about making sure that at least whatever we do it correctly so that we don't run into these issues like shares not being issued properly or registered properly. We don't run into issues of legal shit down the line where they go, why did you do this without an operating agreement, yada yada. Like, we have to make sure we get the starting steps right, and yeah, that takes time. It is easier to just have a chat to someone than it is to record it and take minutes and approve them at the next meeting. But that's what it is to run a business. That's exactly how you're supposed to do it. So that's how we do it. Yeah. So Anyway, sorry, moving on to these exchange questions. What's the amount of unique registered users we had on Alpha? I think Jax, you have the access to that information.
Yeah, the closest data I can get is from SumSub, which shows the number of people that completed a KYC, which was 196, I think it was.
196?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that would be, yeah. And then it was how many of those were actually active users versus those who signed up and used it for a few minutes only. That one's a little bit harder to
Yeah.
track, but also that's the kind of question that would apply more for betas. The alpha was quite literally like 3 landing pages and then like a little bit of functionality to fake trade KTO. Like even I only used that for a handful of minutes each time I went on there. I don't think it can really be classified as active users. Like it's not much reason to return every day to something like that. It is interim, like just proof that we've actually built something. That's what it was. So I don't believe SumSub gives the ability to differentiate between that.
SumSub wouldn't. No, that would be data from the platform, but I don't have access to that data. I would need to ask TA about that. So
it will be accessible, I would imagine, in the admin panel when it's actually in our hands, but currently it's with them because they're building it. Yeah. How many of those users are still checking or checked alpha? As you mentioned, all features were added to alpha till EC2 migration.
again, we can't
I
see
guess
activity data. We can't see that at the moment.
Tech Alchemy probably
They
could
probably
if you were
could,
like desperately interested
I mean,
in knowing. It would be less than half a dozen probably, right? Because for a while there, the login functionality was broken because we only have the one domain. So yes, the changes they were making were being published live to alpha, but for a while there, no one could actually log in.
Yeah, so they were adding the 2FA functionality, I believe, is why it stopped for a while. So yeah, so that environment, the alpha environment, is actually where changes get pushed. So there's a single environment. So everything they're working on is actually live in that environment. God, my words. Yeah. So if you want to see things that are changing, it's there at the moment. That may change in the future. We may split environments out. We're reviewing that at the moment. So, but for now, it's all there.
You want to grab a? My gosh, I read Zith writing the word grab a due, and so I said it. Gosh dang it! And what I meant to say was, do you want to provide just a little bit more detail on that with the ECS upgrade and what we had in mind? I'm gonna have a big sip.
Yep. Yeah. So Tech Alchemy have just finished upgrading us from an EC2 platform to an ECS platform, which it's tech jargon. There's benefits to ECS, mainly around containering and having dynamic workloads and things like that. But essentially, what it should allow us to do is potentially split our environments more easily, so we could have a development environment for TA whereby they push changes and we can see them, review them, etc., test them, that sort of thing. We could have a like a dedicated testing environment if we wanted to, and then you have your actual live production environment, which we may end up doing something like that. There'll certainly be a split between development and live, obviously, when we go live. But yeah, that's currently in review. So what we actually end up with may change, but just gives us a bit more flexibility.
Yes. I gotta find where I was again because my page refreshed. How many do you intend to have on beta? As many as we can. That's that's kind of where the campaign that I came up with and I'm working on with JJ and some of sort of my contacts in other projects and things like that is stemming from. So we're trying to cross promote as much as possible. And one of the great things about being a project building and exchange is that we're less a competing token in their eyes and more a future friend. So the ability to collaborate is really great because we appeal to their community and they get excited about wanting to list on the exchange. So I mean, yeah, I'm sorry. Like the target would be, it'd be great to hit 500 in the first beta because again, there's no trading functionality. It's just more, there's more development that's been done, more things we can show, more bits to test. That's the real thing. We want you guys to get in there and play around and try and break things. Like that's what it's for. We want to stress test it. So I mean, targeting 500 would be brilliant since we hit almost 200 in the alpha. But realistically, we want as many people as possible. There was a great suggestion actually given to me to potentially have pledges done by these communities that we're going to be cross promoting with, these tokens that we'll be featuring. So something along the lines of, sign a pledge to that you will sign up for the beta, or even sign up for the exchange when it launches, have the communities compete who can get the most pledges from their users, things like that. Like, sure, half of them probably won't end up actually doing it because that's just the reality of it, but it gives us an idea at least of some tangible data of how many users we're going to have. So that's that can give us at least some more concrete numbers, but as a modest starting goal, 500 it would be nice, but anything above that is always going to be brilliant. Who would be able to sign up for beta? So we have discussed this quite a bit, and again, we need to stress test it, and we want eyes on it. So it's not really a good idea. Well, I wouldn't say good idea, but it's less feasible to have it be a closed beta this early. Like there's not enough functionality for it to be so exclusive that only so and so can look at it. We want as many people testing it as much as possible. Now, when we get to real money trading, that's a different story. Potentially, we will have a week or two of I don't know, maybe zero trading fees, or we'll have some incentive or some reward, nevertheless tied to only certain holders of, say, the golden ticket, or say, certain KTO holders, or if you hold certain NFTs, whatever it is, whatever criteria we set for the real money trading, sure, that makes sense because you're getting an actual benefit there, right? You're being able to use the trading functionality before everybody else. But doing it this early when we're still like we've basically just finished building the UI. Now they're doing the trading engine, so it's a bit silly to, I think, bar people from checking it out when they want to, because it might be enough for them to just be like, well, I don't care that much. Like, I don't care enough to wait. They might go and forget about it. So we want it to be, as soon as people think of it, as soon as people click on it, they can go in and they can look right away, so that we are being advertised to them. Do you intend beta at some point to allow actual operations with real money? I just answered that. Yeah, he said as it was intended first. That was my fault. That was my lack of technical understanding. The reason I'm not the CTO. I misunderstood something during a Tech Alchemy meeting, and it was, I did, not intentionally, but I did mislead, I think, some people in the community. There was a weird mismatch where there was plenty of people who were like, no, I never expected the beta to be real money, and some people who were like, yeah, I did. What I was getting at there was that I wanted the real money trading to be available as soon as possible. I didn't know that I didn't understand the way the trading engine was being developed at the time, and it's been explained a lot clearer to me, and I understand it a lot more now, and they've shown us how the new time frame looks. So at the moment, it's around about January next year, February next year, off the top of my head, when the trading engine, they slate it to be done. But as I said, they've just finished the R&D for it, and they're doing the product specifications, so things change. But yes, we want the betas to have it, but we have to be mindful of security as well. We're not going to throw you guys to the wolves and be like, yeah, use your money on this exchange that's buggy and doesn't work. Like, of course we're not going to do that. So we've got to measure it between as early as we can and when it's feasible to do.
I was actually confused by that too. I didn't understand that. Yeah, so don't feel bad. Me too.
It gets a little bit intense after a while, and it's a lot of jargon, and it's not my area of expertise. So
That's why I'm here.
yeah, so it won't be this beta. It should technically be next beta, because milestone 3 is the biggest one. That's the trading engine and all the limit orders in the market and the order book and all of that stuff. So it should technically be that one, which will be next year. But again, it's subject to licenses, which we're working on with the lawyer. It's subject to having everything in place with Fireblocks, making sure that it's secure, making sure you're not going to, try and execute a trade and your money gets stuck, this kind of thing. So, yeah, of course, we want the betas to have real money trading. And I do apologize that some people were led to believe, because of what I said, that it would be the first one. If yes, what countries? Again, that's something we have to discuss with the lawyer and see what licenses we can get, not just in time, but just in general, because a lot of countries have different requirements. Like Australia, for example, is actually very, very strict in a lot of ways. So, of course, we want to hit the major, trading areas like the US, UK. Sorry, the later it gets, the more my brain's getting a bit foggy. Australia when we can, and then obviously you've got the likes. You've got Asia, you've got EU countries, you've got. I've just drawn a blank on the country I'm thinking of, but we want to target all of the countries that generate the most volume. That's a no-brainer.
As many as we can, as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
Like,
But it may
agree,
be the case that it's only US, UK for the first beta.
Yeah.
Not first beta, sorry, like the first beta with money trading.
Yeah.
It'll just be, we wouldn't put it off just because we can only get availability in a handful of countries. Like, it's better to have it available in some places than not at all, in my mind. What countries do you intend to be able to utilize the SEX on launch as per regulations of each country? Even Binance has global, US, etc. branches as per regulations. As I said, it's just going to be subject to how easy it is to get the right stuff for it. We want to be available globally. That's just a given. But some countries do make it too hard. They make it, next to impossible. There is data available from other exchanges of where trading volume comes from, even with DeFi swaps and things like that. So we'd be hitting those demographics. We have a pretty good idea from our community as well, just because people talk about where they are and their time zones and things like that. So we know that we have a pretty fair split of UK and US here, and then a smattering of other countries as well. So we'll build it off of data, but there are big ones that are no-brainers, like I said, like the US and the UK and Canada. Sorry. Are there any planned audits of the platform? Is it pen testing, security audits, etc.? Yes, of course, it has to be. Again, that's something that Tech Alchemy sort of, if they don't do it themselves, they have the contacts to do that. They have, this is their bread and butter. This is what they do. They build platforms. They're not going to just hand them off and be completely insecure.
Yes, I mean, they have their own internal factory acceptance testing teams that run through all that stuff. But in terms of audits, that's absolutely something that's on the cards. Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. Also, just I am doing the Q&A stuff first, but just Zog's comment there. That's kind of what I meant, Zog, with like, we have a lot of data available. So the KYC, provided people haven't lied on it, it has people's locations, not specifically, but where they are in the world. So yeah, we do get an idea of what the skew is.
I'd also say on that though, but it's not just that, it's also just the wider potential. So, like you were saying before, like global crypto trading, like where a majority of trades being done, that would be taken into account as well.
Lots of different data sources.
Yep.
Marketing. I'm sorry, Zog, I have already covered this, so I'm going to skim it again and just give a little summary. So it'll be, what's the current state of marketing? We keep hearing soon, but lately you mentioned all I think you meant to say staff step down. It wasn't all the staff, it was just a lot of our key players like Panda and Sloth being our social media manager. Like, that is a big role. So as I mentioned previously, JJ's been working on a lot of things that split his focus. We have had people step down. I have already, we've been in discussion within the team of who would be a suitable replacement for Sloth, at least for the social media aspect. Yeah, it is a bit of soon, but as I said, JJ's got to work on a number of different things. So he knocked the strategy out so quickly and gave it to us so quickly, and he's been working on the pitch decks for Mike, or with Mike, I should say. So it is being continued. I've been in talks with the tokens that we want to partner with for the the featuring on the beta as well, to do the cross promotion in the lead up. I would have loved to have already sort of been kicking things off a couple of weeks ago. That would have been amazing, but again, I'm sorry, life happened, and didn't expect marketing to, people to step down, Artie to be away and unwell, Jax and I, we both had limited capacity, so there have been delays, but it's not a matter of nothing's being done. It's just, I'd say something's going to take me 6 hours. I would love the 6 hours to be across 1 day or 2 days, but it's more likely it's been across like a week for a little while. So yeah, it's the plans are there. We need a bit more manpower again. So if anyone wants to volunteer, we are always accepting help. We're never gonna turn you down. If you want to come and be a marketing person and you want to make tweets and you want to help promote us, like, join. Just ask. We will consider everyone. Would there be actual marketing for beta? As I said, I've had a big campaign planned for a long time. I've got contacts with Paul, Kawa, AVI, Dino, and a couple others who are still unconfirmed. They're all similarly sized projects. They're all willing to cross promote. I want to do big AMAs with everybody and have like all their communities in there. Have people doing art competitions and graphics where they're drawing, all of our mascots together and things like that. Like, there's so much potential for it. Yeah, exactly, crypto. And it's been a big brainchild of mine for a while. That's why I was kind of pissed off that I didn't have as much capacity leading up to it as I wanted. So yes, there's always marketing going on and being planned, and there's a big plan for the beta. And throughout the beta, look, if it's not taken full effect by the day the beta launches, it's not like the beta's open for 1 day and it goes away. Like, it's going to be available for testing. And we want to do like a scavenger hunt on the beta, make you go to every page and find bits of information if we can. Things like that. Where am I? Sorry. What you intend to market on beta if it is limited to who can sign up? So we have the ability, like, people don't want to sign up for it because they don't want to do KYC, that's fine. We're going to be, as I said, the perks of doing things like AMAs and cross promoting is we're constantly going to be talking about it at the very least, and we want to take videos of it being used, and I've discussed this with JJ as well, promotional videos. We can share those so people can see it without having to sign up. Obviously, we want people to sign up because that means they're getting in and they're testing it, but there will always be people who won't, so at the very least we can make them go, ooh, that's a nice looking exchange, or like, oh, I'd like to be able to use that one, or whatever people think when they see videos of exchange. All right, token, what utility except staking will you have for KTO on the exchange? Again, we're limiting our focus to what was originally promised. The staking from the get-go, if we can do it, and we just need to, like, it's not like we've forgotten about it, we need to know the cost of the transactions once TechAlchemy have built the infrastructure to know whether or not, or what the percentage of reduced fees would be for staking X amount of KTO. Those have always been the promised utilities. We haven't forgotten about them. We would love to build more utilities again. We need to have things that are reasonable, and we come up with ideas and they're too costly, or we can't implement them just yet. We don't forget about them and put them on the back burner. That's like literally all of Kramer's job is coming up with ideas constantly, and he doesn't just say them and then forget about them. He writes them all down. So, they're relevant when they will be relevant, but right now they're not, because they either can't be implemented yet or they're too costly. But yeah, initially it'll be the two that were promised. Is tax here to stay because of sandwich attack issue when it's off? Sandwich attacks can actually still occur while it's on 2%. I experienced it the other day when I did my bio on SHIBASWAP. It seems to happen on SHIBASWAP more. I don't know if it's just because it's that stupid bloody Jared from Subway, but I think he's just more active in the SHIBASWAP pool. I'm not sure why that occurred, but I think Lee has talked about this before. They were definitely told, and even Johan tested, I believe, number of times that you could only make one transaction on a block. So we were told it would be anti-sandwich, and everyone always marketed it as, and assumed that it was anti-sandwich. But as we saw when we dropped the taxes the first time, and when we started trading SHIBASWAP, it is more than possible to sandwich. But it doesn't seem to happen as much as with other tokens. So I don't know if it's just more complex MEV bots, like more sophisticated ones, maybe like Jared's one that lets him do it. The tax needs to stay because we need to make money. So maybe once we have VC funding and we're very confident we don't need it, sure. That's always been the plan, right? To turn off the tax forever. It was in the white paper. It's not going to happen anytime soon though, because we dropped the taxes because people told us that they would trade more and that volume would happen. And I know the market went further down, which was a 50-50 at the time. But we've already reduced the taxes as much as we possibly can. We're getting 1% of the tax to fund the project. So it's not going away for now, unless you guys want to forego your reflections, which I don't think anyone does. So we still need to pay for things.
Yeah, and Lee, correct me if I'm wrong if you're still here. When Johan first did that, I believe you watched that live for the failed transaction. Did you watch that live? We can go on, but I want to see what he says in the chat.
Oh, Lee, yeah, if he's there. When would it be renounced? When we could be confident that we don't need to have the ability to change the contract anymore, to change the taxes anymore. I guess if we were committing to turning it to zero forever, then that's when we would renounce it. Are there any listings planned for it on exchanges or dexes at any point? No, because they cost too much money. That's the whole thing. We've had a number of discussions with exchanges. That's why I know they're all vultures, because they'll say things like, pay us $150,000 and we'll put you in front of Chinese whales who run our company and they might invest in you. Quite literally a conversation we had. So no, we're not a popular token. They don't care enough about us not to charge us more money than we'll ever make, even being on them. And then for a decentralized exchange, it's liquidity. So unless it becomes part of, like, I don't know, a weird VC investor who says, I want to invest in you, but only to give you liquidity to be on a DEX, then sure. But as I said before, we've got enough to pay for what we need to pay for right now, and that's it.
Yeah, and if something in the future comes up that makes sense, we'll definitely entertain it. But like Queenie was saying, the conversations we have, they didn't make sense.
And you can tell, like, I have the benefit of having been part of a very popular project and being in listing for that, and I know what's realistic versus the kind of things they quote to projects like us who are small, and it's disgusting. So yeah, it's just it's not really feasible, unfortunately, at least at this stage. What are your plans to actually promote the original token? And if there are no, what's the point to hold or invest in it? That's a question to ask yourself. I'm never going to tell you what to invest in because that's your responsibility. Nothing has changed. The original promise was always, from the light paper, was you get 20% APY and lower trading fees. That is exactly what we are going to deliver. Promoting the token, we do market it with all of our marketing. Like, I know that we have had a focus on the exchange, but that's because the exchange has had something, is the tangible product that you use with the token. Like, they go hand in hand, and we needed people to be aware of it. The marketing of the token, again, ties into all of this networking that we're doing with these other projects. And again, shout out to anyone who hasn't read my dev updates, but if you know a project that is similarly sized to us, and I say that only because bigger ones will probably ignore us because it's not worth them promoting us when they're not really getting anything in return. But all of this networking, we're putting not just the exchange, but our token in front of these people as well. So, like, when we are promoting it, the plan is still there. As I said, JJ's been building the personas as well, like to target audiences, so we can tailor content better and understand who our exchange users are, who our KTO investors are. It's not a matter of forgetting or it's not worth me buying because you're not selling it to me enough. Like, I'm sorry, but again, nothing has changed about the utility. Nothing has changed about what KTO is for. So all we can really do is just try and be more effective with our marketing. Community is not a secret with lack of activity on Discord, socials, updates. Do you think it's not important? Panda and Sloth stepped down in the same week as I was very, very busy, so I apologize for the lull in communication, but it's not that it's not important, and we would never forget about it. It's been something we've done consistently every single day for years, and we've had a couple weeks where, yeah, it slipped because we lost personnel. How you intend to improve the situation as time after time, it was stated that it's a known issue, yet it seems to come back to the same state each time. Everyone's a volunteer. People quit and leave, and they have no reason to put us above what pays their bills. So it's an unfortunate reality. All we can really do is acknowledge, like, yeah, it's frustrating when it happens, but I'm not sure what you guys think the alternative is. I'm open to suggestions, but it's not like I can just, and I know it's not just about me, but I'm saying me as an example because one of the lulls was my updates, for example. I can't just quit my job or stop doing my degree because that would be a very, very stupid life decision to make. So, it's unfortunate reality that that's just what happens. People get sick, people have things come up in life, people have to stop doing things. Sorry. Like, I don't really know what else to say. I think, you guys have some thoughts on this as well because it impacts all of us, but
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
you've summed it up, I reckon. But yeah, Cram, if you have something.
yeah, I mean, we will try to be a bigger part of the general chat, be a bigger part of the community. As far as the discords and the socials, I myself have gone to JJ and, like, if you need me, I'm here. I can help you out in any way possible. When people step down, we just have to fill in spots that need filled.
yeah. And the reason why it feels like it's like, oh, but this has been a recurring issue, it's like, well, it's the same people and they got burnt out, and that's just the reality of it. So yeah, they were having moments where they tried to stick around by just taking time off for themselves to try and come back refreshed, and it wasn't enough, and that's what's led to having to step down because, and that's just how it is. Like, sometimes people bite off more than they can chew, or they burn the candle at both ends for too long, and we have to accept that, and it's just a reality of doing things for free. There's only so passion can only get you so far. Eventually your body will catch up with you if you're doing too much.
Yeah, and there are a couple of people in our part of the staff that are actually going to school, and that's something they need to concentrate on that.
Yeah.
And a sloth. I'm not trying to
For
give out personal.
non-Americans by school, he means like not just like we're not employing high schoolers.
Yeah.
As in like college and university or further education. So yeah. What's the state of the Discord partnership? We haven't reapplied. It's not really a priority. It was a nice goal originally, but ultimately, I mean, they don't really give you a reason. So it could have been they came in and people were saying things that were too inappropriate and they didn't like it, or it could have been we didn't seem active enough, or they're sick of seeing crypto servers and they don't think we deserve partnership. Who knows? They didn't say. There's also a time limit on when you can reapply as well. I think it's like 6 months or something.
Yeah, it is still on the cards, but as you just said, we've got a few other things that are higher focus at the moment. So
yeah. Do we plan to have more AMAs to keep the community in touch? I've said this a couple of times, and again, I know it's not just about me, but I am the one who hosts these 9 times out of 10. I'm always willing to do them, but what is a bit what makes them difficult for me is that because I'm Australian and I know I'm the minority here for time zone, I will always put myself in a shit time to make it work for everyone else, and it's very
almost
difficult
1:30
when
in the morning. Just on that point.
Yeah, I've been awake since 6 a.m. and I've been to work already today. I'm knackered. But I I'm always willing to wake up at 4 a.m. on a Tuesday and do a full day of work after an AMA. It's not about that. But the problem that I was having is that the very people who are asking me to do these, I was putting it in their time zone as well and trying to make it a good time for them, and then they weren't showing up. Or I would record them, and then people would just spend a week asking me the same questions that were addressed in the AMA. So from my perspective, again, as I've said, because this is what free time do I have, what time can I make, it's not very, it doesn't feel like rewarding enough. And I don't mean as in like I need to feel good enough about doing it. I mean, like, it literally doesn't feel like enough reward for how much effort is put in to do one. most of the time. So look, if that's going to change, or if you guys just want them to be social catch-ups where you get to talk to us, I don't know, maybe at the moment like once a month we might be able to do. That's fine, but again, with the rate of development and things like that, and you're going to be just hearing rehashes of what's already in the dev updates, because what I put in the dev updates is what is happening. There's not much else to say. So unless you guys want to hang out and talk about life, that's one thing, but not much of an AMA. So yeah, it depends. I would need to know more about what you want them to look like, and how many people are planning on actually attending them, because they are time consuming and a lot of effort. And I get it whenever we talk about effort or this is hard or whatever. 50-50. Most people are like, no sympathy. You guys signed up for this. I get that, but it doesn't change the fact that it's a fact. It's tiring to do these. So when you do them and 4 people come and 3 of them the moderators from your server, it's like, well, why am I doing this? So that's all it is. So if I can get a clearer idea of how people want them to run and how often and what kinds of things you're expecting to hear at them, fine. If it's just like, oh, like Queenie, we just want to be able to ask more questions about what's in the dev updates just to get a clearer picture. Sure, that's fine. We can figure something else out for that. That's not a problem. Except tech alchemy development and validation of other third-party utilizations, what was done by each department in the past 7 months? What are their achievements that the community can actually see and benefit from? It's a bit cute that you think we have departments and that we don't all just help each other constantly. We have responsibilities as in like a first point of contact, but we all do everything. So I'm kind of definitely the floating piece, which is why I'm able to talk so much about a lot of this. But obviously, I mean, you've said accept tech alchemy and validation of other third-party utilities. So sorry, Jax, you've done nothing for the last 7 months for explaining those 2 things. Well, other than securing our previously very not secure infrastructure that was inherited. So we have more ledgers than I ever thought I would have in this room, with everything secured. You also did overhauls of all the passwords and information storage and all of that. It was a big project with you and Artie, making sure you got everything from Yon to Artie's brain, from Artie's brain to your brain. So
it's like 5 hours or something, I think, on that one.
yeah, a lot of that, a lot of learning as well, because you're a tech savvy guy, but this isn't, building a crypto exchange isn't your specific field.
Can't say I've done that before.
Yeah. So it's a bit unfair to discount the tech alchemy stuff because that is your main thing. Obviously is liaising with them and understanding with them, but yeah, securing everything on the ledgers is a big achievement, which I know maybe that sounds minute to other people, but I don't think you realize how crazy it is to try and translate other people's who've held wallets and where is this and what is this wallet used for, and does this need to be on a ledger, is this is this secure, what's locked, all of that jazz. So that's what you've done. I mean, Mike has been instrumental to like finding the people for lawyers and for pilot.com, although we didn't end up proceeding with them, which I know CryptoSoul asked a question about, and I'll touch on that when I get to these questions. And just the general like business aspects of it, like there were you were the one who knew what needed to be in the pitch deck, and about the operating agreements and the bylaws, and I've spent a lot of time with you learning a lot about how US companies in Delaware are run. Feels like I was doing extra uni at the time, because it was similar to what I was doing, but US flavored. And obviously everything to do with the projections for
A
the
lot of it's talking to companies,
Mm.
Fireblocks, one of them, right? Antier Solutions as market making. Just
Yeah.
there's a lot of learning that I think we've all done, and talking with companies and people that know more than we do has been a big part of it, I think, to get
Yeah,
to where we are.
it's
So
it's been a less tangible role, and I know that people There's definitely a question. I can't remember where it is. It will come up, but there was one about like, oh, it seems like there's tension within the team. It's like, yeah, I'll be frank. Like there was a period of time where like we were getting a bit antsy with each other because some of us do stuff that is more tangible than others, and if you're not on, if your communication isn't there, people will be wondering like, what are they doing? Like, are they working? Am I working harder than them? Like when you get months into a project where market's down, people are upset, people are questioning you, and then you start questioning each other. Like that's why most startups fail. You have to have a lot of faith in each other, and there was a period of time where like I was concerned, and a couple people were concerned about what each other were doing and whether or not it was, we were actually progressing the way we should be. Sorry, but that's something that, like, much to my relief, and I think everyone's relief, we were actually able to come to a conclusion with and actually talk to each other and make improvement on. So, the more intangible things that Mike and myself do, and even Artie to an extent as well, so much of it is learning, but also making sure like we've got what we need to operate the exchange when the time comes, and liaising, as you said, with Fireblocks. Like Jax has got his hands full with Tech Alchemy and all of that stuff. So these third-party integrations, when it comes more to funding and more to, do they suit our needs as a business, like Unlimit, for example, we can't have a unlimited payment option that's only 4 countries. Things like that. Those are the kinds of, I guess, more intangible, almost like research uh, roles that have occurred. And yeah, they're easy to question because you can't physically say, here's this thing I've done. It's like, well, I've vetted everything, and now as well, you secured the legal counsel for us, and you actually paid for that, so we appreciate that as well. And just really getting the ball rolling on so many things, and negotiating with Fireblocks, which is, I don't think I would have been able to get them to halve the quote for us. So I really appreciate that as well. Kramit, you and your list this long of ideas, and our length of calls even longer discussing them, your time with innovation. And I know people haven't really gotten to see your work because so much of it is still in the ideation stage, and we can't implement it yet, but I'm so excited for the Super Mega Stalk NFTs. I'm not calling them that, but
Code name.
Code name Super Mega Stalk. Also, all your ideas on the staking and how that's going to function to be, more competitive than other methods, but also more, give a bit more freedom to our users on the exchange. So,
Yeah.
I think people might think you've been holding out on us, but Kramit's probably one of the most, like, bang, 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 an idea comes into his head, and he's like, someone get into Discord with me. I need to say this thing.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of my role, it's really it comes in waves. Like
Mm,
like the ideas that we have, like you said, we stack them up, right? And then we'll go into, is this possible? Can we do that? And then once we get the okay, like this is something that we can do, we go and start making that happen. But all these other ideas and things that we would like to implement are still in the pipeline, but we're still doing the build from the previous thing. So it's really, like I said, in waves. We'll do one thing, finish it, start again. But during the time that we're building, I'm back helping in any way from whatever somebody needs in any department. So I really play a big role in every department. I do a piece of this, piece of that, piece of this, and then once that's done, I can go back once the stuff's completed in new wave. And so once this stuff is done, we're gonna have a new wave. And I'm kind of excited.
yeah, yeah, absolutely, no, definitely, and a big achievement is going to be the KTO converter when it's done. It's been a sort of a love child between you, Jax, Nahana, and Neo, so that'll be really good. Um, and Artie, oh, I wish he could be here. We hope he's doing well. I don't say that like we haven't
He
heard from
is
him. We
here.
have, through his wife, but um, he's been instrumental. No two ways about it. He has done so much, and again, a lot of it is that stuff that you guys will probably never see. It's a lot of that support, internal stuff that keeps everything together and keeps everything flowing. It's the noticing Tech Alchemy haven't had a reply yet, and they needed it. They need it by this time, and knowing that, Jax isn't going to be able to get to it. It's 2 a.m. He's asleep, kind of thing. It's filling in those things. It's the operational management. It's taking care of the teams. It's making sure massive support to marketing, of course, because that was his original sort of speciality.
I mean, at one point, really, he was doing, my role, what you do for us, Queenie, and also, as you said, marketing stuff. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Hey, Artie's here actually. He's listening.
I
Artie,
know.
we
I
hope
said,
you're
yeah.
okay. Yeah. So it's just it's one of those things where I hate the whole like trust me bro stuff, but it's like so much of what can be quantified as the effort that goes into doing something like this is stuff you will never see because it is intangible. But it's what allows us to get even as far as we have. Like, it is easy to be like, oh, well, the exchange is being built by Tech Alchemy, so how hard can it be? Almost every week there is something we have to approve. They won't move unless we tell them to. So the fact that we're still on target with the sprints is a feat in itself because we constantly have to approve things.
And it's not just approve though. Like approval is,
Deciding
like what is the thing we need to talk about it? We need to discuss it. We need to figure out what we want. We need to research X, Y, Z. We need to come back and talk about it again. We need to, like there's really a lot involved. So yeah, it does sometimes take longer than what we would like, but
yeah, and like just being able to keep on track when we had some pretty significant delays a number of times, and I mean Tech Alchemy have been amazing, right? Like they'll work around us, and if they have to bring something forward because something's on hold, they will. But just the fact that it has shaken out to be we're still on track is like, it's really lovely to see, because there were times where it got hairy. There were times where it was like, holy shit, one of us is available this week and that's it, kind of thing. And the fact, but that's what it is. Like, at least we always have consistency of there's always someone, and that's kind of what I meant to say by like, it's cute to think that we can stick to our departments, but no, we just have to get things done. So if I have to step in for Mike, I do. If Kramer has to step in for Jax, he does, and that's just what we do to make sure everything gets done. So yeah, where was I? Seems like community has multiple roles. If those are marketing, moderators, etc., while barely any of them are active, both on Discord/social media, especially with leave of the two most active moderators, is there any plans to improve it or make organizational changes to have people actually active in their positions? Again, they're all volunteers. We make it clear when you sign up to do anything with us that we understand you have a life and you have other things that you have to do. We cannot pay you, so we cannot expect you to do more than you can do. It is in the mod application, hey, part of this role is being active and keeping the community engaged. Things happen. It's just how it is. And we appreciate every single person on our team who helps us. And if you're a community member who has a problem with gaps in the team's abilities, please put your hand up and fill the gap if it's a big problem for you, because that's how they got there in the first place. They noticed. Like the 3 new marketing members, there were people who said, I tweet a lot, maybe I could tweet for KTO. They've come on, things like that. I have ideas all the time. Can I come in and work with you guys? Like that's what we want. So like, again, because they're not paid, we're not in a position to be able to give them payment. We cannot incentivize them. We cannot ask people for anything more than they can give us. Yeah, I mean, again, the zero activity is it zero activity? Like, people are also different time zones. We had a stint where people were trying to be active and then got called NPCs for saying good morning to each other. So, like, community are going to react in different ways.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, I do understand we want to keep a lively, engaged community, but I think of the like 52 fucking crypto servers I'm in, one of them is active right now. It is a dead space at the moment. And they're only active because they have like a gaming section, and that's the only place where they're talking, because they're all playing Minecraft. So it's like, it's not about crypto. Maybe you guys have some more active communities who can keep it active, but if there's not much to chat about and people don't feel comfortable saying good morning to each other and stuff like that, like, we want to foster a happy environment where people feel like chatting. But if people are taking a break from crypto because it's depressing at the moment, that's just how it is, I'm afraid. When we can incentivize people, absolutely. and we do have some plans with that with JJ, especially with marketing sides of things. If we can get some, quality influencers and incentivize them, then yeah, like we're going to have people who can drive engagement and keep that energy up. But it's a pretty across the board thing at the moment. And again, like I know you said it's understandable that they're volunteers, but that's exactly it. They're volunteers. So but we don't really have a leg to stand on to be like, oh, you haven't put in your 8 hours of work today, like, or your 8 hours of work this week. Like, it's always been advertised as whatever time you have, even if it's 10 minutes after you put your kids to bed, we appreciate it because you're someone adding to the project. Cool. All right. So we're done with those ones. Thank you very much, Zog, as well. I know, like, some of them you might not be satisfied with the answers, or they might just be ones we already discussed earlier. It is recorded if you weren't here at the start. I think you were, but anyone who wasn't here at the start and they want more detailed answers to a lot of those questions, we did cover them at the start as well. Rahib asked, how long is it for the exchange to be completed? Where do you see it in a year's time? So in a year's time is when it's slated to be completed. So that's the easy answer to that one. But I think a year after that, it would be lovely to have, met a good target of users. I think when I was looking at it, it was, forget, I could be mistaken, but it's like a small exchange. It was in the like tens of thousands of users in the first year, but like even if we could hit like 10,000 in the first year, that would be great. Like it's a modest goal. Obviously, we want a lot more than that, but considering we had less than 200 for the alpha, we'll get a better idea as the beta goes, and as obviously if the market picks up, it'll become easier. But I'd love to see us, with like a decent chunk of active users, and so we're making revenue and we're working on new features and perhaps a mobile app and things like that. And getting active listings, that would be fantastic a year after launch, which would be around 2 years from now, a little bit earlier. Mr. Hull said, are you not concerned with the lack of depth in our dev team? It looks to me like we're understaffed. You're not wrong, but again, it takes, there's not many people who are willing to give up their time. Like we put our applications.
This much time for nothing, really. Like, yeah, it is a big commitment. And I think maybe not everybody really does appreciate how much of a commitment it is, how much time is actually given up. Yeah, again, if anyone's happy to help, we're always, happy to have people. So
we did expand the board as an acknowledgement of that. Like we know, and we've never pretended to be skilled in all the areas we need to be skilled in. It was never about that. It was about the fact that the old KTO devs were burnt out. They self-admitted that they needed, like the project was going to go to zero. We were all holders who didn't want our holdings to go to zero. We wanted to see that, they'd already started. It was like we can make it. Like we can get the exchange done, and get this utility for the token there, but it was never going to be a sure thing. All it was well, they are definitely going to stop doing it. We at least we can take it over and try and make it work. It doesn't mean there's no chance of it going to zero. It could still absolutely fail, but we're doing everything we possibly can to make sure it doesn't. And that's all this was ever about, is to get us over that finish line.
Yeah, and I mean, at this point, there will be an exchange. It's paid for. It's being developed. It's just a matter of time.
Yep. That's can't really be undone unless we bring up Tuck Alchemy and say, stop it, give us our money back, which we wouldn't do. So, yeah.
That's that's a very important perspective to keep, is that it's going to be built. It's we got there, right?
That's major.
It's coming regardless. So,
that's major. Huge.
Yeah. So, like we would love to have more, and we had plenty of people who reached out, and then they asked what it would entail, and we told them what our day-to-day looks like and the kinds of things we do. Some people weren't comfortable with the level of scrutiny that they would have being a dev. They weren't comfortable being in the spotlight or constantly being probed for what they were doing or having to be, you know, accountable to the community. And that's fair. It's different strokes for different folks. It's not easy. Like you've got to have a level of resilience and also like ability to detach yourself from. It's not a personal attack. People are worried about their investment. They just want information. Sometimes it's a personal attack, but usually it's not. So you know, there are people who might have the skills, but they're not suited for the role, and that's, you know, I don't think we've turned anyone away. It's only been people who've asked about it and then gone nah. So we're not picky. IQ. Oh my god, IQ, you have even more questions. I don't know much about the legal team, so let's fill in the gaps. What specific goals does KTO's legal team contribute to? Legal team is, I don't know if that's accurate, Mike. I mean, I presume he would have like paralegals and stuff under him, but it is a lawyer that we have engaged at a law firm, obviously. He has his own team, but we don't deal with them specifically. He is about making sure we're doing the business right, making sure we have what we need to operate the exchange, especially for the real money trading, helping us with, you know, untangling the web that is applying for the appropriate licenses in different regions, and making sure that, at least from a legal aspect, all of the you know, even just the monetary stuff, the accounting stuff for the company as well. Obviously an accountant plays a role as well, but there are legal elements to it as well. Eventually the shares stuff too, because it is something we want to tackle, of course. What have they achieved since being hired? We've only had them on retainer for a very short period of time, and a lot of that was explaining who we are and what we do. Mike already knew him, but you knew him, Mike, was it, or was it he was a
No,
contact of your?
exactly. Like the attorney that is my friend if he's a criminal defense attorney, he wouldn't do this. So he referred the attorney we have now,
Is that a cat?
a friend. So
Yep. Sorry, the cat hammock just fell off the window, and my cat is still sleeping through it. And it just scared the crap out of me. I thought the window just went through. All right, well, he's fine. He's sleeping, so that's okay. Yeah, sorry. So he was an acquaintance of yours, or a friend of a friend, rather. But we
yes,
met with him. Mike and I did, and he was great. He I jumped out of my skin. My heart is racing. What have they achieved since being hired? Well, mostly just like it has been a lot of those interim, like, beginning talks. We've been sent a homework effectively from him, is what he calls it.
Yeah.
It's a checklist of a lot of questions about us and what we're achieving and what we need and all of that. So it's kind of just a reiteration of the things we discussed, but so he has a reference point for everything he's doing, and we're in the process of answering that. So then once we've given that, that's where he can help us with drafting a lot of the documentation that is a bit too much for me. Like I drafted a lot of our like I drafted some contract agreements, and I've done some other documentation, but drafting like bylaws and things like that is not in my wheelhouse. It's a bit too much for me. So yeah, we will engage them for that as well. Do they finish good work on time at a reasonable cost to the business? Cost is absolutely reasonable. We're paying a retainer for like everything they're doing initially, and then basically we have them. Oh, sorry, I shouldn't say retainer. We're paying them sort of an upfront fee for everything they're going to do for us initially, and then we'll have them on retainer, and the hourly rate that he's charging is very reasonable. We believe. We don't know what the time frames are like at the moment yet, because as I said, he's given us homework. We haven't given him the answers yet, so we'll have to see. But you know, it's usually a good sign when they're very prompt with their emails, and if you're trying to tee up a meeting, especially with multiple time zones and things like that, the fact that he was very quick and accommodating and responsive is always a good sign. So we'll see how we go with the work, but he seemed great to me. And obviously, you know, Mike, you didn't, as he was, you know, he was a friend of a friend, but you hadn't dealt with him personally, and I think he left a great impression on
No.
both of us. So
Yeah.
yeah. Are legal fees paid out of pocket? If not, how are they covered? Mike has paid out of pocket. We do intend to reimburse him, but we're just keeping everything in the notice for now, just because we do have that Fireblocks conversation coming up. So we just need to make sure we have everything that we have available right now. What legal firm do they work for? I'm not sure. He hasn't said whether. I mean, I don't know how it works in the US, so I don't know if there's like, do people just announce that? I don't know. Is that something we can share, Mike? Or
What do you mean? His name? It's
Or like
his
the
firm.
legal
So
firm he works for? Yeah.
yeah,
It's his.
I
it's
feel like
called.
I put it. I feel like I put it in one of the dev updates. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure I did. But yeah, it's Lepresti Law LC, I believe, off the top of my head.
Yeah.
And he is the Lepresti in that. So it's him and his law firm. Have they done similar work before for different exchanges? So no, but he is a specialist more in what we need him to be a specialist for, which is very much the business side of things and conducting ourselves as a financial institution. So, and he's no fool. We kind of probed him on that with, does he even know what crypto is? Has he heard of Binance? You know what I mean? Like, does he know what an exchange is? And he's fully savvy on all of that. It's not a matter of whether or not he's done that stuff for them before. It's about the documentation and the licenses, and he has plenty of experience with that. So that's not a concern. Do they have a binding contract with the KTO Corporation? If so, how long? We have an engagement letter we signed with him. It goes for a year, I believe. No, I didn't say Predi. I said Lepresti. It's just my stupid accent coming through. I'm pretty sure it's in one of the dev updates, but I can type it for you in a moment if you need. How much of the lawyers cost? I believe the initial cost was, I want to say, it was less than $2,000, but it was the initial. Was it 1,600?
I think it's 1,500.
I thought
1,500?
15.
Yeah. So that was like the
15.
initial one-off,
Yeah.
all of the
Retainer.
establishing
Yeah.
services. Yeah, and then there's an hourly retainer for ad hoc services, basically, if we have questions or we need to meet with him about XYZ. What's the professional history of Mike, Artie, Crammett, and Jax that gives investors confidence in their ability to handle things until replaced by paid professionals? Someone didn't read the bios that were posted on Twitter several months ago, where we have their photos and who they are and what they do. Artie, oh, he's gone now, but I mean, Artie himself has owned his own businesses before. He owns many rental properties. So he has business management experience and marketing and a lot of other things. And again, none of us have experience in running an exchange, and we've never pretended to. It's not so much about that. Mike, obviously, you've got business experience as well, but also just a lot of contacts and the knowledge as well and experience that comes with being around the right people and having those conversations. I'm sorry, I don't know yours off the top of my head because it's been a while, but I don't know everyone's off the top of my head. I know Jax's obviously and my own.
Yeah,
I can. Oh, go for it. I lagged.
no, you're all good. I'm blue collar. I drive a truck and run greater as far as experience in crypto running an exchange. Like Queen says, I don't have any, but I've been a part of this project since the beginning, marketing, and I know what it's like to market during the bear. It's not fun.
Yeah, and I think you're selling yourself short because you're like, oh, I'm blue collar, I drive a truck, and that means that I don't know what I'm doing. But like, again, you've picked up a lot of skills, and you already had plenty that you brought to the table, and your ability to continually come up with ideas and continually stay motivated and continually point things out that we would never consider is still a boon. So yeah, sure, okay, people might not think that, like, again, we didn't take over because we're a Forbes billionaire cover page and like, I don't know what to say. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we didn't take it over because we were exceptionally qualified. We took it over because no one else would.
Yeah,
And we're not saying we're better than anyone else. Like, if you're experienced, if you're, an award-winning bloody designer like a Nahana, we bring him in. You know what I mean? Like, if you've been a CEO of a publicly traded company before, hell yeah, come in. Like, it's not about that. So, like, of course we want to inspire confidence, but I'm not going to lie about my skills. Like, arguably, I'm the most qualified person to be in a role because I work in finance and I've worked for large crypto projects before. But I wouldn't say my business knowledge is anywhere near that of Mike's or Artie's. I don't have the technical knowledge of that Jax does. I can't read Solidity. I can't figure out what Tech Alchemy is saying half the time, and Kramit, again, I wouldn't be able to come up with the ideas that you do, or even you assist a lot, I think, with the operational sides for Artie as well, like team structures and the actual business, like day-to-day aspects of things. So,
Mhm.
yeah, if that doesn't inspire confidence, then by all means go support a project that you want qualified people. Like we're trying to get it to the finish line. We're just trying to make it work, and pick up as much knowledge as we can on the way. And if it means, if the success of this project and the best thing for the holders and the community in the long run is to find people who are more qualified to replace us, that is what we will do. Which I know is a question somewhere in here, probably 3 times. Are we concerned about ETH gas fees during the bull market? We saw how they skyrocketed a few months ago, and that was in a bear market. It is a concern and a valid one. It's been a bit tricky because we try and run projections and things, but until we know the number of checkpoints and how gas is going to be, once Tech Alchemy have confirmed it, that's when we'll know for sure what we really need to be mindful of, whether or not we just have a business strategy in place where we subsidize the cost of gas during
Are we talking
above
about
average.
exchange in particular with that question, or was that just a general?
Yeah, we have a
I
solution
would
to that.
presume so.
Yeah, that's
It's
where
the
I was
only
going with
place
that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Exactly.
yeah, I'm with you.
Oh, you know what? I actually just I read it in the context of it being about the sex, but it does apply to the token as well, of course. In which, yeah, that's what the KTO converter's for. So, yeah, if you guys want to give a little spiel, if anyone hasn't heard of it, I can't imagine the people here haven't heard of it, but just in case.
Of the converter, or yeah. So I mean, I posted a little while ago just a screenshot of the main page of it. Essentially, the idea behind it is to try and offset some of that gas fee, especially during high gas periods. It's actually one of the things that came out of the last high gas period. So been working with Neo and Nahana to get that developed, and we're in the tail end now of testing. So should be pretty soon. So I mean, I can go into more detail, but I feel like I'll just get really technical and everyone will get bored.
You won't. Don't mind me. I just joined on my phone accidentally trying to look at the chat.
Yeah. Essentially, it's kind of like a contained swap for KTO. So there's a wallet that sits in the contract which has the KTO in it. Someone can come and connect their wallet and swap ETH for KTO. So essentially, you're doing a transfer rather than a swap through the contract, which uses less gas. So from our like the testing and stuff we've done so far, it's looking sort of around the 20 to 30% less gas. But again, we need to do full, like with mainnet and everything to get an accurate number. But yeah, should be pretty soon. As I said, we're in the tail end of testing. I got a meeting hopefully this weekend with Neo to follow up on that. So
Do you want to share what you asked Tech Alchemy today, or do you want to save that for?
yeah, so I mean, we're conscious of security, so we would like it to be audited prior to releasing it. So that's something I've asked Tech Alchemy if they'd be happy to do it. Obviously, given they haven't coded it, that'd be suitable to provide an audit. So we'll see what they come back with. We might look at a few other options as well, but security is always on the mind. So
Indeed. Okay, so we had so gas from the exchange perspective, because obviously we're still going to be having to acquire tokens and things like that. So we'll have an element of that that's going to be subject to knowing how it functions. KTO converter for the token. Do we? I think Al, was it Al who told me to skip his questions? Oh,
I
okay.
think so.
All right. Well, I'll skip those because we did already address them. But yeah, unfortunately, a lot of that, just like I said, it comes down to the volunteer aspect of it. So if we have people with an actual employment contract and they're being paid, of course, standards will be very different. And yeah, there would be things like KPIs, and there would be, what's the word? Performance metrics and things we expect from them. But because it is volunteer, there's only so much we can ask. I think that's Dylan, you cheeky. Question for Jackson Queenie. Who do you want to win the AFL Grand Final later today? I don't even know who's playing in it because I mentally checked out because my team technically is West Coast Eagles, and because I was born in Subiaco, so like they have been my team my whole life until I moved to Adelaide, and then I took up the Crows so that people would stop asking me. And both of them played dismally this season, so I don't know who's in the finals. Are the Lions? If the Lions are
I
in
was
the
going to
final, I'm
say, I
probably
feel
going
like
for
it's
them.
Collingwood and Brisbane, but I could be wrong. I've not
Okay,
been keeping.
if I'm choosing between,
Just not
if I'm
not
choosing,
Collingwood. I
I
want
was
to
gonna
see
say
Eddie Maguire cry. That'll make me happy
again.
again.
And all the Americans are really confused, but me, Dylan, and Jax are happy. We're talking about Australian footy.
Yeah.
The finals are tomorrow. It's like the biggest sporting event, pretty much here. One of. Yeah, look, if it's anyone against Collingwood, you go for anyone.
Yeah, unless you're a Collingwood
Um,
supporter, but you know.
in which case, it'll get
Yeah.
out. No, that's okay. All right, so I'm going to scroll all the way back to the top. We've finished the Q&A questions. Thank you guys for your patience. I've been talking for a long time. And I know a bit of it was rehashed, but really there were just a few key points today we wanted to drive home. And obviously, I don't want this to just be about the project questions you guys have. Any questions are welcome, but also I know this week was scary. I know that there was a lot of confusion at the start of the week. It's not easy to see when long-standing members decide to sell and when they're, coming in and sharing their reasons. And they are entitled to sell. So please, I know that it's upsetting, and especially when the market is like this, and it's already been this long of people holding, and some people think it's pointless. Like, why go this long and then choose to sell now, kind of thing. It's hard not to take it personally, but people need to do what's prudent for them. They are entitled to transact their investments however they please. If you think of it like if you were trading shares, you don't see the people you're trading with every day. You don't get upset when you see someone sell 50,000 shares of a stock you really like. You might, but you're not getting upset at them personally. You know what I mean? So we have to be mindful that crypto is a very unique space where we get to know each other, and that can be a dangerous line because people who feel like your friends, when they sell, it's hard not to take it personally. But you can't take it personally. That's the whole thing. You cannot be emotionally invested. Be emotionally invested in the project, not the crypto, not the token. If that makes sense, you gotta have the passion for what's being done, but you've got to separate that from the financial element of it, because otherwise, that's how you get overextended, and that's how you put yourself in a position where you've not gotten out when you should have, or you're struggling to make ends meet because you've overextended yourself, and you can't put yourself in those positions. And I know I'm being quite fair because I know that that's not the reason why most of those people sold, but it doesn't matter. It's still their investment. It regardless of the reasons, nobody should be shamed for selling at any point. And I just want to make that very clear. There's no tolerance for harassment of people who sell.
Yeah, I mean, from a community standpoint, obviously, buying and selling is part of any healthy project. And I guess from a team perspective, we've never stopped people from selling. People that are on the team, we've always said it's fine and encouraged. But I guess something with that, we've always encouraged to do it the right way. And I will say it's disappointing to see the way it was done by team members, but again, that's their decision. We're not going to stop them, it is what it is. We'll recover.
And I guess we have the slight advantage of some other projects where at least we make money when people sell. That's the one upside, is it does generate revenue through the taxes, and it's revenue we weren't getting from the individuals who are on the fence about selling, or they're not buying, are they? So if at least if they choose to sell, I hand cram it. At least if they choose to sell. Were you trying to replicate the Arthur meme for a second there? It's still revenue coming in, and we can do that. Like, seriously, like, we mean it when we say we're going to be the last people here. You guys could all sell and we'd still be trying to get this done, because that's how much it means to us. We've come this far. We've put so much time and effort, and just tears in my case. Like, I get overwhelmed and I get passionate about things. So it's going to happen. We hope you guys come along for the ride with us, but you've got to do what you've got to do to look out for yourself. And if things feel too risky or too unknown, you have the right, and it's your decision to stop, or to take a break, or to sell what you have, or sell some of what you have, or whatever. Like, we will never judge you for that. Like, that's what we're all here to make money at the end of the day. That is what investment is for. So yeah. Preaching aside, my rant over. I'm trying to find where the first questions are, because everyone was also chatting. I think the first question: can KTO holders get discounted KTO merch if that's something people want as a utility? Absolutely. If we have an official merch store, sure. If you're staking KTO, or you have a certain amount of KTO, sure, get discount. Why not? That's a great idea of something that can be done. Like, these are the kinds of things that I love. It's like, what would you like to see? Would you like to have your KTO entitle you to that, like, discounts, even if it is KTO merch? Like, yeah, absolutely, that's a great idea. Cram it, write it down.
We've thought about this already.
I'm not surprised. Can you? There was one for you were pinged, Mike, but it was like, can you touch on the lower transaction fees for staked KTO? Which I think I did briefly, but if there's anything you want to add to it.
Me?
Well, you were pinged,
sorry.
so you're in the hot seat.
Oh, I didn't see it.
No, that's okay. So he was just asking if you could touch on the lower transaction fees for staked KTO, which earlier I was saying that it does. The trouble with the fees is that we need to know how much it's going to cost to operate transactions, and we don't know that yet.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's very hard. It's very hard to estimate.
Yeah, just on that, the other thing to take into account is the restructure of the NFT fees. So, or the way the NFTs will affect trading fees. So, it's likely that the amounts will change for KTO as well. One of the things on the table is an update of the white paper. So, yeah, that'll be some point in the near future, hopefully.
Yeah, so that one you shared, IQ, that is the token equivalent of what we had for the NFT. So we've reworked the NFT one. We still need to rework the token one, but that one's a little bit trickier because, again, all we did was kind of shuffle the NFT stuff to make it a bit more logical, whereas this one, like, we may need to change the numbers quite a bit once we know what the transactions are going to actually look like in the back end. But it's always been, like I said before, the two utilities promised from the beginning was 20% APY, and increased staking benefits for KTO, being lower fees, higher APY. That was always what it was, and what we want to achieve as well. Will the staking be limited in terms of volume? IQ has answered that for us and said yes. That is what we've said in the past as well. Will it change over time as it grows? Might be able to stake more, sort of thing. IQ has also answered, I'm sure it'll grow as the company grows. The exchange won't be paying out millions in staking rewards. It doesn't make sense to do that when you're small. Correct. So we will always aim to share. I think at the moment the plan is to aim to share a certain percentage of revenue at all times. Again, subject to projections and the minutiae of what we need to actually calculate. But we pretty much just want to cover operational costs and whatever margin our VC investors expect within reason. But yeah, so there's that. Are the shares still purchasable? No, not at this stage, because that's what we need our legal counsel for, to understand, the logistics of it all and make sure that we're not going to have a repeat of what happened before, where we try and issue shares and don't go about it in the correct manner. I say we as in from the KTO team perspective. It was the previous team. Now it's us. We don't want to repeat the same mistakes. We want to make sure that everything's good to go before we do it. So whether they will be in
I
future,
think
that's
when
another thing.
yeah, when we're ready to pitch to investors, though, it will be open to the community as well.
Yeah.
They can purchase, they can invest the same way as a VC investor, an angel investor, certain amounts. So yeah, that's
And that's
once
part of the
again,
reason for
like you
the
said, that's, yeah, the legal aspects of it have to be taken care of first. Yeah.
and all I was gonna say was and that's the reason for having JJ prepare the two different pitch decks and things like that. There's going to be
Yeah.
ones that will tailor to different levels of investors, and we're not going to exclude retail investors who can only depending on how much shares are, only throw in enough for 1 or 2 or 5 or whatever. Again, we want everybody to have an input and support us if they can. So so some of these we're going to have to recall back to what we were talking about at the time. So Zog was saying I think having utility for the token versus implementing it right now is not the same thing. If you still have utility you think of after you release the exchange, it's okay, but not having it at all is different though. So again, I think we already kind of clarified this, but just to make it clear, it's not that we can't think of utility, it's that, and Kramer has a list, we have a list, we have long, we have ideas. It's just what I'm saying is we often won't share them because we either don't know if it is achievable, or affordable, or if it will be good, and also we don't want to dangle things in front of them because then suddenly like what I did with the Gantt chart, right? Every week since then I've had when Gantt chart is the Gantt chart happening, and that was because I thought I could release it, but it wasn't actually the one that I thought that I was going to be able to release. So we're just mindful of dangling things in front of people that might not happen for 18 months. So yeah, it's not a matter of not having them, it's a matter of we're going to announce things that we can implement, because then you can be excited about them, not just feeling like everything you hear about is soon, because we've been in projects that do that. Yep. DDD. Oh my goodness. Okay, we're getting there. 2 a.m. guys.
Yeah. What time is it?
Lee had a very important question about whether or not there was a garden screen behind us. I don't know. I bought it on Amazon. I don't think it's a garden screen. Oh, that's right. Yeah, CryptoSoul asked us why we didn't decide to go with Pilot.com's CFO services. What did they not offer that we're looking for? If anything, it was actually they offered too much. They were a little bit too in depth for what we need right now. They were more so operational day to day. We're not at that point yet, so they don't really offer a suitable high level. You're starting out. Here's a strategy. Here's projections. We thought they might, but they're a little bit too hands on for what we'd need, unfortunately. But they're definitely in the back pocket for when we may still need them. Definitely. It's just right now we'd be paying them, and what they would expect to be doing day to day, they wouldn't really be able to do, so we'd be paying them for no reason. I think that's.
Oh, I did it. Yeah, I did. Whoops. Oh well, you can have one of them.
I'm mostly just
it was
seeing
actually
chat now. What's happening?
I'm just talking to CryptoSoul.
Oh, I see. Okay, I've tried to read through it. My eyes are very tired though, so I'm going a little bit cross-eyed. I think I think I got most of the questions. If I missed any, put them in Q&A, or if you have them still on your mind, you can pop them in the chat right now. Otherwise, we will attend to them if we've missed them from the Q&A. But thank you guys very much for your time, the 2 hours. I hope this is what you guys were wanting and more, and that we've addressed your queries. I do appreciate there are a lot of things we can't answer in full, and that won't be satisfactory for some people, and that's fine. People have different standards, and people have different, notions of what is a suitable reply. But all we can do is be honest, which has always been the policy. So we'll be frank if we don't have the information to calculate something, we don't know what something's going to cost. That's what we'll tell you. If we haven't completed something, that's what we'll tell you. Because when we're not here to swindle people out of money, we're not here to lie and cheat and scalp and do anything like that. We're just here to see a project that we love and have loved for a long time through to completion, and hopefully large success and growth into the future. So yeah, thank you guys very, very much. I'm going to go to sleep. I've been awake for too many hours today. But I hope everyone has a lovely weekend, and we will catch you around the Discord.
See you guys.
Thanks very much, everyone.
Thank you.
See ya.